Chapter 2268. Missing Moon Peak. After Ning Qi returned to his room, he took out the black sword and looked at it. He found that it had restored itself, and there was no sign of it being broken. In addition, the black sword's aura seemed to be stronger than before. You have the ability to heal yourself? But what's with those cracks? Ning Qi frowned. The black sword shook a little. Ning Qi could feel its cheerful mood. Every time you heal yourself, you become stronger. No wonder you want to fight so much. But every time I fight with someone, I have to use you to break it? This seems a bit embarrassing, Ning Qi said to himself. Black sword hurriedly shook a few times. The emotion it conveyed was a little anxious. Okay, I promise you. Ning Qi smiled. He also wanted to see how the black sword would develop if it kept breaking. Leaving the room, Ning Qi planned to go to the sword house to ask the sword elder about the exact origin of the black sword. At this time, Hua Yu and the others were also outside. Seeing that Ning Qi wanted to leave the courtyard, they quickly stopped Ning Qi. Brother Ning, where are you going? When we sweeping the floor, we can't walk around, or else it will be like last time. Hua Yu smiled. Just going out for a walk. Ning Qi's figure flashed, and Hua Yu and the others only saw a blur before they lost track of Ning Qi. Hua Yu, don't worry about him. Don't think that he is an early-stage human immortal. He may not be stronger than us in the future. Offending an outer sect disciple like Wang Tao, if you get too close to him, be careful. The others advised. Ning Qi remembered the route he took. Not long after, he returned to the sword house where he got the black sword. The door of the sword house suddenly opened, and the sword elder's voice came from inside. Come in. Ning Qi smiled and walked into the sword house. When he entered the sword house, the door slowly opened again. The sword elder flew down from the sword mountain and landed in front of Ning Qi. Boy, you want to ask me about the origin of the black sword? The sword elder said with a faint smile. Ning Qi nodded and smiled. Please enlighten me, senior. Where is the black sword? The sword elder smiled. Ning Qi's mind moved and the black sword appeared in front of him. At this moment, the flying swords on the sword mountain seemed to be afraid again. The sword elder also noticed this and was aware of Ning Qi's arrival. Little Black has only been with you for a few days, but it's already so radiant. It seems like it made the right choice. The sword elder looked at the black sword for a while, stroked his beard and laughed. After a pause, he continued, Do you know how many years Little Black has been in the Sword Mountain? Yes. I don't know either. When I was still a young boy, I was lucky enough to pass the test and came to this sword house. At that time, the senior who guarded this sword house had already exhausted his lifespan and passed away. In the blink of an eye, time flies. The sword elder sighed with a trace of reminiscence in his eyes. Seeing that Ning Qi was looking at him, he smiled and said, Look at me, an old man. When I came to the sword house, Little Black was already in the sword house. At that time, just like you, there was a guy who didn't get a flying sword. At that time, just like you, there was a guy who didn't get a flying sword. Ming, when he was about to leave, Little Black suddenly flew up and chose him. That guy's cultivation aptitude is really good, even I am ashamed of my inferiority. If those things didn't happen, he might have already broken through to the golden immortal stage. I don't know much about Little Black's past. I can only start from that guy. After he got the black sword, he was also ridiculed, just like you that day. However, he did not become a sweeping disciple, but in the third test, because of his light golden aptitude, he was accepted by the mysterious sword ancestor. Inherited disciple. The sword elder said. Light golden aptitude? Ning Qi's eyes moved slightly as he glanced at the black sword. It seemed like the strength of its former master was not to be underestimated. As for me, I was like an ordinary disciple, slowly starting from the outer sect disciple until I became an inner sect disciple. At that time, Little Black's master was already quite famous in the Xianjian sect. and his ranking among the true disciples was not low. Originally, if this went on, he would have become a golden immortal step by step, and become one of the ancestors of the Xianjian sect, but who would have thought that he would find a sword technique from somewhere? For these unorthodox methods, he spent a lot of time, causing his cultivation to stagnate, and gradually became the last among the true disciples. Even some of the inner disciples had higher cultivation than him, but he didn't care at all, as if he had been bewitched. The 4 immortal swords that formed the immortal killing sword formation were all top-grade immortal weapons. When the immortal killing sword formation had just succeeded, we had thought that the power of the immortal killing sword formation would be very strong, and his years of research were not in vain. His years of research didn't go to waste, but in the end, sure enough, Ning Qi's eyes moved slightly. Indeed, Ning Qi's eyes moved slightly. In the end, it just so happened that the elders of the Seven Swords sect brought people to visit the Xianjian sect and suggested that the disciples of the Seven Swords sect should compete with him. When he used the immortal killing sword formation, that kind of aura really intimidated all of us, and even the expressions of the golden immortal stage cultivators became very shocked. Seeing that, without waiting for the other party to use any techniques, the immortal killing sword formation had already been activated and attacked the other party. Unfortunately, it did not even break through the other party's immortal spirit barrier. 4 top-grade immortal weapons under this sword formation are actually not as strong as a single low-grade flying sword. Is it because there are no true 4 immortal slaying swords to cooperate, so I am unable to unleash the power of the immortal killing sword formation? Ning Qi thought to himself. The sword elder sighed, shook his head, and said, the sword formation that he spent more than 100,000 years researching only had this much power, and was broken on the spot by that disciple of the Seven Swords sect. He went crazy. That day, he laughed maniacally, left the Xianjian sect from the training grounds, and disappeared without a trace in the end. All these years, I have inquired about him. Ancestor Xianjian had also asked his good friends to pay attention to his whereabouts, but no one knew where he went. Some people guessed that he should be dead. Then did that senior not take this black sword away? Ning Qi said. When he left behind this flying sword. I saw a trace of hatred in his eyes. The sword elder laughed bitterly. The black sword seemed to have sensed something, and Ning Qi sensed that it was feeling a trace of sadness. It was abandoned by its master, and it might even be hated by its master. Normal immortal equipment naturally didn't matter, but perhaps the black sword already had a spirit at that time, which was why it felt sad. Elder Sword, how should I address this senior? Ning Qi asked. He has the same surname as you. Perhaps this is the reason why Little Black chose you. You two are fated. The sword elder laughed and sighed. Ning Qi, his name is Ning Qi. Ning Qi. Chapter 2269. Surprised, right? When I first found out your name, I was also very surprised. There are 330,000 disciples in the Xianjian sect, but not a single one of them has the surname Ning. In the past, it was him, and now it's you. The sword elder chuckled. Sword elder, I wonder how long Senior Ning Qi has been missing? Ning Qi cupped his hands. How long? You can't remember, right? Maybe 3 million years, maybe 5 million years. If he's still alive, with his talent, he must have already become a golden immortal. The sword elder laughed. Thank you, sword elder, for clearing my doubts today. I will take my leave first. Ning Qi cupped his hands and bid his farewell. When Ning Qi walked to the entrance of the sword house, the sword elder's leisurely voice came from behind. Treat it well. Yes. Why is this guy's personality so similar to his? They are both surnamed Ning, could it be? The sword elder squinted his eyes and looked in the direction that Ning Qi left in, deep in thought. Ning Qi. Maybe it's just a coincidence? Or is he one of my previous lives? The black sword was in Ning Qi's hand. Ning Qi lowered his head to look at it and said, "Do you recognize me?" The black sword did not respond. It seemed to be puzzled. "Whether it's a coincidence or not, I am me. I am Ning Qi, Ning Beixian." Ning Qi's eyes revealed a trace of determination. "It's here. Senior brother Lu, senior brother Bai, did you really get beaten up like this by that new disciple?" Senior brother Fan brought everyone to the entrance of the courtyard where the sweeping disciples live. His eyes revealed a trace of suspicion. How could a mere early-stage worldly immortal sweeping disciple beat up Lu He and Bai Jing to such a state? "Junior brother Fan, are you suspecting that we are lying and purposely wrongly accused a sweeping disciple?" The others said coldly. Lu He and Bai Jing's gazes towards senior brother Fan also became fierce. "I don't dare." Senior brother Fan immediately cupped his hands. He was the youngest junior brother in the missing Moon Peak, otherwise, he wouldn't have been the one to manage the sweeping disciples. "Court Master Huang, he's your man. You can deal with him." The rest of them hesitated for a moment before looking at Hall Master Huang. Amongst them, Hall Master Huang had the highest cultivation, a late worldly immortal. They had seen Ning Qi's methods before and they knew that they might not be a match for him. Naturally, they wouldn't embarrass themselves. Okay. Hall Chief Huang quickly nodded his head. Even though he had the highest cultivation and was the Hall Chief of the External Affairs Hall, he was still just a sweeping disciple. He wasn't even an outer disciple. Thinking about the trouble Ning Qi had caused him and Wang Tao's attitude back then, Hall Chief Huang kicked open the door with a furious expression. He rushed forward and directly kicked the door into powder. "Who is it?" Hua Yu and the others cried out in surprise as they appeared in front of Hall Leader Huang and the others. When they saw the appearance of the incomers clearly, they hastily bowed respectfully, feeling somewhat bewildered. What was it that made Hall Chief Huang so angry that he came looking for them? Hua Yu's eyes were sharp. When he lowered his head to greet them, he happened to see Lu He and Bai Jing. He did not recognize them, but when he saw the injuries on their faces, he suddenly had a bad feeling. "Where's Ning Beixian? Where is he?" Hall Chief Huang said coldly. "Ning Beixian?" The five of them heaved a sigh of relief. So he wasn't looking for them. Hall Chief Huang, Brother Ning went out. Hua Yu mustered up her courage and said, "Went out? You mean he left the missing Moon Peak?" Hall Chief Huang's expression became even more furious. Sweeping disciples are not allowed to leave the missing Moon Peak without permission. Doesn't he know about this rule? Senior Brother Fan frowned and said, "This we have already reminded him, but he is an early-stage human immortal. If he wants to leave, we can't stop him." Another sweeping disciple standing next to Hua Yu said with a bitter smile. With just a sentence, he pushed all the responsibility away. The others also nodded their heads, indicating that what he said was true. What a troublemaker! Hall Chief Huang's heart was filled with anger, but on his face, he looked at Lu He and the others and said, "Senior brothers, do you think we should wait for him here or send someone to capture him?" "Wait." Bai Jing gritted his teeth and said, "This is Senior Brother Bai?" Hua Yu sneaked a glance at Bai Jing and suddenly felt that he was somewhat familiar. It was mainly because Bai Jing's injuries were slowly healing under the effect of the immortal qi. He was much better than when he had just come out from the back mountain. Otherwise, with Hua Yu's eyesight, she probably would not have recognized Bai Jing's identity. If he is Bai Jing, then that can't be Lu He, right? Hua Yu swept a glance at Lu He. His figure was indeed quite fitting. As he thought of this, Hua Yu's face revealed a trace of shock. The two of them had been beaten to such a state, and court leader Huang had come personally to find Ning Qi in such a rage. Hua Yu suddenly had another guess. That's impossible. How could Brother Ning beat them up to this state? These two people are middle-stage human immortals, and outer sect disciples should have one or two low-grade immortal weapons or even middle-grade immortal weapons. Hua Yu was shocked in his heart. The other disciples seemed to have noticed this as well. They looked at each other in shock and had an inexplicable feeling in their hearts. "All right, then we'll wait for him here. Senior brothers, don't worry. He is a disciple of my external affairs hall. No matter what, we will give you two an explanation today. Whether it's skinning or refining his soul, as long as the two of you have a request, I, Huang Tong, will not hesitate to give this person a good treatment." Hall Chief Huang patted his chest and said. Bai Jing's eyes revealed a trace of hatred. He was already thinking about how to get back at Ning Qi. Thinking of a way to vent his anger, Bai Jing couldn't help but smile. As a result, it affected the wound at the corner of his mouth, causing him to gasp in pain. After waiting for a short while, everyone's expression changed slightly. They all looked towards the door and saw a figure slowly walking in. After seeing them, he stopped in his tracks. "Oh, it's you guys." Ning Qi looked at Bai Jing and Lu He with a faint trace of mockery in his eyes. "Ning Beixian." Huang Tong abruptly took a step forward and grabbed towards Ning Qi. Instantly, an incomparably gigantic immortal spiritual hand condensed above Ning Qi. As a disciple sweeping the floor of the Foreign Affairs Hall, you actually dared to offend your superiors and sneak attacked Senior Brother Lu and Senior Brother Bai. Today, if I, Huang Tong, do not properly punish you in the future, you will be my outer disciple. Has the Hall of Peace brought about a calamity? Chapter 2270. Ning Qi frowned and suddenly pointed at Huang Tong a few times. Void Whole Finger. The immortal spiritual energy transformed into a sharp sword. First, it scattered the immortal spiritual hand that Huang Tong had condensed. Then, it struck Huang Tong's two shoulder blades and two kneecaps. Pooh! After Huang Tong's kneecap was pierced, his legs went soft and he knelt down heavily. The sharp pain immediately spread to his nerves, causing Huang Tong to grimace in pain. What happened? Senior Brother Fan and the rest stared at this scene with their mouths agape in disbelief. As for those who were already prepared, when they saw that Huang Tong wasn't Ning Qi's opponent, the way they looked at Ning Qi changed greatly. Their eyes were filled with fear. An early human immortal stage cultivator was actually able to defeat Huang Tong? Again and again, his skills were astonishing. Hiss, Hua Yu and the others sucked in a breath of cold air and stared blankly at Huang Tong, then at Ning Qi. Their slow brains could not react to the shocking scene in front of them for a long time. Don't come over." Bai Jing looked at Ning Qi in horror. After Ning Qi injured Huang Tong, he didn't do anything else but walk towards Bai Jing and the others. "Damn it! You're just a disciple sweeping the floor. If you dare to attack us again today, no one will be able to save you." Fear also appeared in Lu He's eyes. He seemed to be imagining the power of the beating at the back of the mountain. Ning Qi had a slight smile on his face. From beginning to end, he didn't stop walking. Very soon, he arrived in front of the two. Then, under the dumbfounded gazes of the others, he violently beat them up again. Every punch landed on flesh. If Ning Qi hadn't controlled his strength with his fists, even if he didn't, he wouldn't have been able to defeat them. Opening the 9 inner hidden gates, even early earthly immortals might not be able to withstand it, let alone Lu He and Mo Wuji. Bang! 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 An extremely rhythmic, muffled sound came from the courtyard. This sound lasted for about an hour. Senior Brother Fan and the rest stared blankly at Lu He and Bai Jing. Under Ning Qi's violent beating, the two of them had undergone tremendous changes. Before this, their bodies were still very slender, but now they were as bloated as pigs. "This Brother Ning, don't hit them anymore. If you hit them again, they will die." Senior Marshal Brother Fan saw that the two of them were getting weaker and weaker, so he gathered his courage and stepped forward to persuade them. Ning Qi glanced at him, ignored him, and continued to beat the 2 lumps of meat under his feet. Lu He and Bai Jing almost stopped breathing after a while, but because of the strong life force of a human immortal, they pulled themselves back. You're Ning Beixian, right? I, Huang Tong, have indeed misjudged you this time. I never thought that you would have such strength, but this is the Xianjian sect's missing moon peak. If you kill these two senior brothers of the missing moon peak, you won't be able to escape. Huang Tong's injuries had already taken a turn for the better. He looked at Ning Qi with a complicated expression as he spoke. Who said I was going to kill them? Ning Qi indifferently glanced at Huang Tong. When Huang Tong met Ning Qi's gaze, he suddenly felt a chill run down his back. All the pores on his body seemed to relax for a moment before a layer of cold sweat appeared. I won't kill you today, but I'll beat you up every time I see you on the missing moon peak. Ning Qi looked at Lu He and Bai Jing indifferently. The two of them had long since lost their human forms, but their consciousness was still there. Using the vibrations of the immortal Qi, they said, We understand. Their voices were filled with terror. They knew that Ning Qi really did have the power to kill them, and they were now on the verge of death. The pride of an outer sect disciple had long since been thrown away. The only thing they had left was boundless fear towards Ning Qi. How could there be such a terrifying sweeping disciple? Senior Brother Fan, sorry to trouble you. I think they might not be able to walk by themselves. Ning Qi said indifferently. Senior Apprentice Brother Fan heaved a sigh of relief in his heart and hurriedly nodded. He glanced at Ning Qi in fear, and then, together with the other fellows who were almost scared out of their wits, they brought Lu He and Bai Jing away and fled the place in panic. Seeing that, Huang Tong also wanted to leave, but when he noticed that Ning Qi was looking at him, the cold sweat on Huang Tong's forehead finally flowed down, and he looked at Ning Qi awkwardly. When you get back, remember to tell Wang Tao that I'll be waiting for him here. Remind him that he has to keep his word. Ning Qi said indifferently. Senior Brother Wang? Oh yes, Huang Tong was startled, then hurriedly nodded. Ning Qi, scram. Huang Tong left in a hurry, not daring to stay any longer. Hua Yu and the others stared at Ning Qi blankly, as if their bodies were petrified. Only when Ning Qi entered the room did they react. Hua Yu, did you already know that Brother Ning has such strength? TSK, an outer sect disciple, a middle-stage human immortal, was actually beaten to this state. The other outer sect disciples also did not dare to make a move, and most importantly, even Hall Master Huang was not a match for Brother Ning. I think the sect intends to let Brother Ning replace Hall Master Huang's position, right? Will the outer affairs hall be managed by Brother Ning in the future? Hua Yu, we've been brothers for so many years, don't hide any benefits from us. Let me calm down first. Hua Yu smiled bitterly. He did not know that Ning Qi's strength was this strong. Previously, when he saw Ning Qi grabbing Bai Jing's wrist, he thought that Bai Jing was being lenient. Later on, the young miss came, and things did not get any worse. If the young miss didn't come that day, Lu He and Bai Jing would have probably been beaten to a pulp. Hua Yu thought to himself, Senior brothers, Senior Brother Lu and Senior Brother Bai's injuries are very serious. Should we first send them to the pill hall to find the elder for treatment? The crowd did not walk far before Junior Brother Fan suggested. He was afraid that Lu He and Bai Jing would not be able to hold on to their last breath, and their souls would be destroyed. What should we say? Say that they were beaten to this state by a sweeping disciple? The rest of them looked at each other with hesitation in their eyes. They watched Lu He and Bai Jing being beaten to this state by Ning Qi, and they did not help. If this was spread out, their reputation would probably be ruined. Go to Senior Brother Wang Tao. Wang Tong's voice came from behind. You also said that this boy came from your outer affairs hall, and you actually did not know the details of his cultivation? The few of them glared at Wang Tong, as if they wanted to put the blame on Wang Tong. Seeing this, Wang Tong hurriedly said, This boy was brought to the outer affairs hall by Senior Brother Wang Tao, and once he arrived, he was arranged to go to the missing moon peak. I really did not know that his combat power was so strong that even I was not a match for him. Senior brothers, please do not misunderstand. Senior brother Wang Tao? When the crowd heard this, their expressions became slightly strange. Wang Tong knew that they must have misunderstood something and explained, Senior brothers, don't worry. Senior brother Wang Tao is not this boy's backing. When he brought this boy to the outer affairs hall, he even personally told this boy to beat him up every time he saw him. There's such a thing? Hall Chief Wang, did you hear wrongly? The few of them were suspicious. Lu He and Bai Jing seemed to be able to hear their conversation and their bodies move. Absolutely. If you don't believe me, please follow me to Senior Brother Wang Tao. When he saw Senior Brother Lu He and Senior Brother Bai Jing like this, he will definitely not let this boy off. Wang Tao patted his chest and said. Chapter 2271. Top Training Ground. After confirming that the Celestial Eradication Sword technique and the Celestial Eradication Sword formation were not a trap, Ning Qi began to attempt to cultivate the Celestial Eradication Sword technique. Ning Qi was not too sure what grade of cultivation technique the Celestial Eradication Sword technique was. Its use was only to control the Celestial Eradication Sword formation. When the two were combined, it would become the Celestial Eradication Sword formation. The Zhu Xian sword formation was divided into a total of 9 levels, and each level had a different chant, which should correspond to the different powers of the Zhu Xian sword formation. Ning Qi spent a year's time, but he was still unable to cultivate the first level. Seeing that, Ning Qi exchanged for another 30 days of top-notch training grounds, and focused on cultivating the Zhu Xian sword art. Gold Sun Peak. The two of you can just cultivate on this mountain from now on. Yi Tian chuckled as he looked at Wen Xing and Wen Qing. The two of them had spent a lot more time than Ning Qi and the others to pass the 3 stages of the Sky Immortal Stage trial and officially become disciples of the Xianjian sect. Furthermore, they were direct disciples of the inner sect, so even Yi Rulong could not interfere with this. Although the Xianjian sect had a great Luo Golden Immortal ancestor, experts of the Sky Immortal Stage were also rare. According to the rules set by the Xianjian ancestor, if the existence of the Sky Immortal Stage could pass the 3 stages of the trial, they would directly obtain the status of an inner disciple, skipping the step of becoming an outer disciple. This would depend on the future. Thank you, Brother Yi. Wen Xing chuckled as he cupped his hands. Wen Qing was expressionless. Yi Tian was Yi Rulong's disciple, so she hated him as well. Right, there's something I need to tell you, Yi Tian said with a strange expression. What is it? Wen Xing asked. Do you remember the 2 worldly immortals you brought last time? Yi Tian laughed. I remember, but what happened to them? Wen Sheng and Wen Qing's expressions changed slightly. Since Yi Rulong hated them so much, it was very likely that he would implicate Ning Qi and Wen Qing. In my Xianjian sect, how could something happen? It's just that one of them was in the 3rd stage of the trial, and the profound sword tablet shot out a dazzling golden light. His talent is extraordinary, and I heard that he was personally brought away by the Xianjian ancestor. Yi Tian sighed. If he hadn't taken Wen Xing and Wang Tao to the trial and handed the rest of the trial to Wang Tao, he might have been able to inform Yi Rulong in time. In this way, their lineage would have gotten a disciple who had achieved Tao fruit and might become a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. When Wen Xing and Wen Qing heard this, they looked at each other, but they were not too surprised. With the battle prowess that Ning Qi had displayed before, it was normal for him to have a dazzling golden aptitude. This was even more certain that Ning Qi was the successor of the Celestial Monarch, and the two of them did not plan to leak this news. It was good that he knew. When Ning Qi recovered his memory in the future, they might need Ning Qi's help to find the guy who destroyed the One family. Could it be that the two of you already knew? Yi Tian's expression became even stranger. He could tell that the two of them were not too surprised, as if they already knew about this. Indeed, the two of us were mentally prepared for Brother Ning's aptitude. However, it was still somewhat unexpected for him to be able to make the profound sword steel emit a dazzling golden light. Wen Xing smiled. Wasn't it normal for an immortal lord's disciple to have the aptitude to attain the Tao fruit? If he could not even become a Daluo golden immortal, why would the immortal lord fancy him? In the end, the upper limit of the Xianjian sect's Xianjian tablet was only a Daluo golden immortal. If a person had the aptitude to become a Xian immortal, the golden light it emitted would still be dazzling, and there would not be any other changes. However, Wen Xing still concealed it a little, and did not let Yi Tian see through it. Brother Ning. As far as I know, Yi Tian looked at the two of them strangely. The one who was taken away by the profound sword ancestor is surnamed Zhao. I think he's called Zhao Tong? This? Wen Xing and the other two looked at each other in shock, their eyes revealing a trace of disbelief. How could it be Zhao Tong? If not for Ning Qi's request to take Zhao Tong away, Zhao Tong would still be in the 9-sect arena, and it was unknown whether he would be able to survive until now. Wen Xing and the other two had never looked at Zhao Tong in the eye. How could such an inconspicuous and even ugly existence have such powerful aptitude? Then what happened before? Why had no one discovered it? Where's the other one? What kind of aptitude does he have? Wen Xing said with a serious expression. The weak white light is almost invisible. It's not suitable for cultivation. Now, it's arranged to be a sweeping disciple in the Foreign Affairs Hall. Yi Tian said. Thank you for telling me, Brother Yi. If there's nothing else, the two of us will take our leave first. Wen Xing smiled and cupped his hands. Take care, you two. Yi Tian smiled and nodded. Immediately after, Wen Xing and the other two arrived at their cave abode on Golden Sun Peak. After a moment of silence, Wen Xing said, If Ning Beishuan's aptitude is so bad, then how did he get the power to kill an Earth Immortal? Bad? Not necessarily. The corner of Wen Xing's mouth raised slightly. Second brother, you mean, you and I are unable to guess the methods of the immortal monarch. Have you forgotten the dragon claw that appeared that day? Perhaps Brother Ning has something on him that can block the detection of the profound sword tablet. Compared to the immortal monarch, what is the profound sword tablet? Wen Xing smiled. That is indeed possible. Wen Xing nodded thoughtfully. We are already disciples of the Xianjian sect. No matter how bold that guy is, he would not dare to go against the Xianjian sect, so there is no need to be afraid of them finding us for now. Next, we will find a chance to meet the profound sword ancestor, and only then will we have the hope of avenging our Wen family. Wen Xing said indifferently. We're almost at the Golden Sun Peak. Senior brothers, hold on. Huang Tong was afraid that Lu He and Bai Jing would not be able to hold on, so he kept encouraging them along the way. In reality, he was thinking for himself, and did not want the other party to hate him and Ning Qi together. Hall Master Huang, you guys? When the disciples of the Golden Sun Peak saw Huang Tong and the others, their gazes swept across Lu He and Bai Jing, and their expressions changed slightly. We have something important to ask of senior brother Wang Tao. Huang Tong hurriedly said respectfully. Compared to the disciples of the Missing Moon Peak, the disciples of the Golden Sun Peak clearly had a higher status. After all, the peak master of the Golden Sun Peak was Yi Tian, and his master, Yi Rulong, was in existence of the Golden Immortal stage. We'll take you there. The disciples of the Golden Sun Peak looked at each other, then laughed. They were very curious about the situation with Lu He and Bai Jing. Thank you, senior brothers. Huang Tong immediately cupped his hands. As Yi Tian's direct disciple, Wang Tao's cave was extremely conspicuous in the Golden Sun Peak. Not long after, everyone arrived at the entrance of Wang Tao's cave. A few Golden Sun Peak disciples shouted, and Wang Tao walked out of the cave. When he saw the scene in front of him, He was slightly startled. What is it? Wang Tao frowned. Chapter 2272. You're saying that after he defeated these guys, he specifically told you not to forget what I said? Wang Tao said with a gloomy expression. The eyes of the surrounding Golden Sun Peak disciples lit up. They sensed that there was going to be a good show to watch. A sweeping disciple dared to challenge an inner disciple of Golden Sun Peak? That's right. Huang Tong nodded. You two are outer disciples, intermediate human immortals, but you were beaten into such a state by an early human immortal. TSK, the disciples of Missing Moon Peak are getting more and more unsightly. Wang Tao looked at Lu He and Bai Jing coldly. The two of them were ashamed and angry, but Wang Tao was right. It was indeed shameful for them to be defeated by Ning Qi. Wang Tao suddenly waved his hand. Two streams of immortal qi entered Lu He and Bai Jing's body. Then, their injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. About the time it took to brew a pot of tea later, other than some scars on their faces, the rest of their injuries were basically healed. Wang Tao was an early Earth immortal expert, and his cultivation base was many times stronger than a human immortal. His treatment was much more effective than the ordinary healing pills they consumed themselves. Thank you, Senior Brother Wang Tao. Lu He and Bai Jing clasped their hands and thanked him. No need to thank me. If it wasn't for your miss, do you think I would care about your lives? Wang Tao said coldly. He then flew towards the direction of Missing Moon Peak. He was incomparably angry. This time, he must teach Ning Qi a lesson. Wang Tong and the others were startled at first, then a hint of joy appeared in their eyes. They quickly followed Wang Tao. They were looking forward to the scene of Wang Tao defeating Ning Qi. Ning Beixian, you're going to die this time. Lu He roared in his heart. Bai Jing followed behind Wang Tao expressionlessly, but from his clenched fists and white knuckles, one could tell how angry he was. Senior Brother Fan and the others were hesitant. They didn't know if they should follow Wang Tao to find trouble with Ning Qi. What if Wang Tao couldn't defeat Ning Qi? Then they wouldn't be able to escape unscathed. However, this thought was fleeting. They felt that they were shocked by Ning Qi's previous actions. No matter how strong a human immortal was, could he be stronger than an Earth immortal? This was not a difference of a small rank, but a difference of an entire realm. There were so many sects on the ancestral star, and they could easily surpass a realm. Not a single one of them could fight. Only the disciples under the immortal lords seemed to have such monstrous talents. Interesting. That disciple sweeping the floor seems to have been brought here by those two from the one family. He seems to be on good terms with the person whom Ancestor Xianjian personally brought away. Should we go take a look as well? The few Golden Sun Peak disciples leading the way didn't immediately chase after them. Instead, they stayed where they were. Let's go and take a look. I heard that the disciple who was sweeping the floor was very weak, which was why he was thrown into the External Affairs Hall by Senior Brother Wang Tao. But now, the situation doesn't seem right. How could an early-stage human immortal defeat two mid-stage human immortals? Also, have you guys noticed that on Wang Tong? He seems to be injured as well. As the Hall Master of the External Affairs Hall, he didn't deal with this matter personally. Instead, he came to look for Senior Brother Wang Tao. It's very likely that he has already fought with that disciple. You said that even a late period of human immortal like Wang Tong isn't his match. Then wouldn't we also, seeing is believing. Let's go. So. One figure after another broke through the air and chased after Wang Tao. Senior Brother Lu, Senior Brother Bai, Senior Brother Fan, there are so many of you. As Senior Brother Wang Tao? When everyone arrived at the Missing Moon Peak, they coincidentally met 7 or 8 Missing Moon Peak disciples walking together. From the looks of it, they seemed to be planning to go out and complete missions to earn contribution points. When the 7 or 8 people saw Wang Tao and the others, their expressions were a little surprised. The status of the Golden Sun Peak and the Missing Moon Peak in the Xianjian sect were like two extremes. Why would Wang Tao come to the Missing Moon Peak with Lu He and the others? Where is he? Bring me there. Wang Tao said indifferently, ignoring those people. Senior brother Wang Tao, please follow me. Wang Tong hurriedly led the way. Seeing Wang Tao and the others leave, the 7 or 8 people looked at each other and tacitly followed. Their mission this time was very simple and did not have a time limit. Right now, it was obvious that Wang Tao and the others had come to the Missing Moon Peak for something, so they wanted to see why Wang Tao and the others had come to the Missing Moon Peak. A place to shit. Isn't this where the disciples who sweep the floor live? When the few of them saw Wang Tao and the others enter a courtyard, their expressions became even weirder. A dignified inner sect disciple, an existence at the early stage of the Earth Immortal stage, would actually come to the courtyard where a sweeping disciple lived? Could it be that some celestial equipment had been born inside? Hall Master Huang, you guys, Hua Yu and the rest looked at the people who had just arrived with their mouths agape. These guys had just left, why were they here again? Furthermore, Lu He and Bai Jing's injuries seemed to have completely recovered. Where's Ning Beixian? Get him out here, Lu He said angrily. His personality was originally calmer than Bai Jing's, but at this moment, Lu He was clearly unable to control his emotions. On the contrary, Bai Jing's expression became extremely gloomy. He did not speak and only clenched his fists tightly. Is it your place to speak now? Shut up. Wang Tao glanced at Lu He coldly. Lu He's expression changed, but he suppressed the anger in his heart and shut his mouth. Wang Tao scanned the courtyard with his divine sense and found that there was no one else in the courtyard other than Hua Yu and the others. Where's Ning Beixian? Where did he go? Wang Tao said indifferently. Senior brother Wang Tao, Hua Yu and the others only noticed Wang Tao now. Their expressions changed drastically, and they bowed respectfully. Ning Beixian is in that room. One of them pointed at Ning Qi's room and said in fear. Now that Wang Tao had come personally, Ning Qi would definitely be defeated no matter how strong he was. You're lying? Wang Tao glared at the sweeping disciple, causing him to take a few steps back in fear. He almost couldn't breathe. No, I'm not lying, senior brother Wang Tao. Ning Beixian is really in there. He never came out. The sweeping disciple was almost scared out of his wits as he quickly explained. I've already checked. There's no one in there. Wang Tao said coldly. No one. Hua Yu and the others looked at each other in shock. Seeing this, Wang Tao could tell that they were not pretending. It was very likely that they did not know that Ning Qi had already left this place. Senior brother Wang Tao, could he have run away? Huang Tong asked hesitantly. Activate your sweeping disciples and search for him. I don't care which mountain he's hiding in, I'll drag him out. Wang Tao shouted coldly. This is, Huang Tong smiled bitterly. This kind of action was a little too big, and would easily attract the attention of the elders. However, since Wang Tao was here, he only needed to push the blame to Wang Tao if the elders asked. What are you guys doing here? Chapter 2273. Oh, so it's junior sister Jinxian, Wang Tao said with a fake smile. He had entered the sect much older than Ying Jinxuan. If it was before his father disappeared, he definitely wouldn't have dared to treat a golden immortal's daughter like this. At that time, the Missing Moon Peak was not as declining as it was now. Now, the old peak master of the Missing Moon Peak was just an early-stage heaven immortal who was about to reach the end of his lifespan. Although his master Yi Tian was also an early-stage heaven immortal, he was in his prime. The two of them could not be compared. Wang Tao, what are you doing here? Ying Jinxuan frowned. She really couldn't figure out why Golden Sun Peak's Wang Tao would gather with Foreign Affairs Hall Master Huang Tong, Lu He, and the others in the courtyard where the sweeping disciples live. There's just a disciple who offended his superior. Hall Master Huang Tong asked me to capture him for questioning. Junior Sister Zhenxian, you don't have to care about such a small matter, right? Wang Tao smiled. After a pause, he continued, Junior Sister Zhenxian, do you need help concocting pills? You can bring these 5 sweeping disciples with you. As for me, I don't need Junior Sister Zhenxian to receive me. I'll wait here for that sweeping disciple to return. Sweeping disciple? Ing Zhenxuan's gaze swept across. Missing Moon Peak had 6 sweeping disciples, which was a pitiful number compared to all the other peak. Ning Qi wasn't here, so Ing Zhenxuan knew who Wang Tao was targeting. She looked at Huang Tong, pointed at Hua Yu, and turned to leave. Hua Yu looked at Huang Tong with a pale face. What? Senior Sister Zhenxian is giving you face by asking you to concoct pills. Hurry up and go. What are you looking at me for? Huang Tong's face turned cold. Yes. Hua Yu nodded with a sad face and chased after Ing Zhenxuan. Senior brother Wang Tao, big senior sister, she. Lu He and the rest didn't say anything. After Ing Zhenxuan left, they looked at Wang Tao with trepidation. Even a blind man could tell that there was something wrong with Wang Tao's attitude towards Ing Zhenxuan just now. Yet, they didn't say a word and didn't respond. When Ing Zhenxuan left, they were still standing with Wang Tao. What's there to be afraid of? It's just a mere disciple sweeping the floor. Junior Sister Zhenxian knows what's important. How could she quarrel with me over a mere disciple sweeping the floor? Wang Tao glanced at Lu He and the others in disdain. The spiritual qi in your moonless peak is thin. After this is over, follow me to the Golden Sun Peak. I happen to need a few people to pour tea for me. When Lu He, Bai Jing, and the others heard this, they were shocked and looked at Wang Tao in disbelief. If they could go to the Golden Sun Peak to serve tea, it would be many times better than staying at the Moonless Peak. It was because they didn't have any connections that they couldn't leave the missing Moon Peak. Who would have thought that Wang Tao would actually accept him today? Everyone was so shocked that they were speechless. Huang Tong's eyes revealed a trace of jealousy. Although his cultivation was higher than Lu He and the rest, he didn't even have the qualifications to serve them tea. After all, his cultivation would probably stop at the human immortal stage for the rest of his life. On the other hand, Lu He and the rest had the possibility of becoming earthly immortals or even heavenly immortals. What, you don't want to? Wang Tao sneered. We're willing. Lu He and Bai Jing immediately knelt on the ground and pledged their loyalty to Wang Tao in front of the rest of the Moonless Peak disciples. When the rest saw this, other than Junior Brother Fan, even the 7 or 8 Moonless Peak disciples mustered up their courage and asked to join the Golden Sun Peak. Unexpectedly, Wang Tao accepted them all. Only Senior Brother Fan hesitated and didn't say anything. Wang Tao looked at him mockingly. What about you? I'm used to staying at the Moonless Peak. Thank you, Senior Brother Wang, for your kindness. Senior Brother Fan laughed dryly and cupped his hands. I hope you won't regret it. Wang Tao sneered. This person can't be offended. Huang Tong felt a chill in his heart. He was experienced and could naturally tell that Wang Tao was purposely angering Ing Zhenxuan because of her bad attitude. However, this also indirectly proved that the Moonless Peak's luck was running out. This could be seen from Ing Zhenxuan's crazed learning of alchemy. In reality, Ing Zhenxuan was trying to extend the fate of the Moonless Peak. He hoped to rely on his alchemy skills to increase the number of people in the Moonless Peak, or at least not decrease. Everyone in the Xianjian sect could see through his goal, but they all knew that Ing Zhenxuan did not have the talent to refine pills, and could not even refine his life immortal flame, so how could he refine pills? Just by relying on a middle-grade immortal weapon, Flame Fan? At most, he would only be able to refine some low-level immortal pills, which would not be of much help to the Moonless Peak. It was too much help. Huang Tong, why aren't you going to do your work? Wang Tao looked at Huang Tong coldly. Yes, I will go now. Huang Tong nodded and turned to leave. The Golden Sun Peak's outer disciples who came with Wang Tao to watch the show also bid farewell to Wang Tao and left. Since the main character wasn't here, they didn't want to stay even a second longer in the missing Moon Peak where the spirit chi was thin. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During this time, Hua Yu returned to the courtyard covered in injuries, but they were all superficial wounds. His face revealed a look of resentment and lingering fear. Wang Tao and the others were still waiting for news in the courtyard. Seeing that, Hua Yu thought to himself, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come back. If I were to stay with Wang Tao and the others, I would have to be on tenterhooks all day. Not long after, Huang Tong brought a few stewards from the Hall of Foreign Affairs to the courtyard with conflicted expressions. What is it? It's been a month, and you still haven't found a mere sweeping disciple? Wang Tao's expression was slightly mocking, but a trace of suspicion flashed past his heart. Could it be that the other party was afraid of him, so he found a chance to sneak out of the Xianjian sect? This was a big deal. Because of this, his identity would change from a sweeping disciple to a traitor. Without the permission of the sect, the disciples of the Xianjian sect were not allowed to leave the sect without permission. Senior Apprentice Brother Wang, I have already mobilized all the sweeping disciples on the mountain peaks to search for that guy's whereabouts, but they all said that they had never seen Ning Beixian before. I even personally went to ask Elder Sword about it, and Elder Sword said that Ning Beixian had gone to the sword house a while ago and then left. When Huang Tong sized up Wang Tao's expression as he said carefully, "When did he go to the sword house?" Wang Tao frowned. Huang Tong said a date, but Lu He immediately said, "At that time, he was still here. It was at that time that the two of us were." At this point, Lu He could not continue. This matter was too embarrassing. A mere early-stage human immortal disappeared from our Xianjian sect, just like that? Wang Tao coldly snorted. Just as Huang Tong was about to speak, a sound came from the door of the house that Ning Qi was in. Following that, the door opened and Ning Qi, who everyone had been searching for more than a month, appeared in front of everyone. Looking at Wang Tao and the others indifferently, Huang Tong vaguely noticed that there seemed to be a trace of ridicule in Ning Qi's eyes. No. He didn't know if it was his imagination. Chapter 2274. That strange Wang Tao's eyes were also filled with surprise. He was very sure that there was no one in the house when he arrived a month ago. I said that I will beat you up every time I see you. But this time, it won't be so light. Ning Qi looked at Lu He and Bai Jing and said plainly. The two shuddered. Then, Lu He said fiercely, "Don't be so arrogant. Senior Wang Tao already knows what you have done. Today, he must suppress you." Suppress me? Ning Qi chuckled and looked at Wang Tao with a faint smile. You're here. Yes, I'm here. Are you ready? Wang Tao smiled and walked towards Ning Qi. Everyone held their breath as they watched this scene. No matter what method Ning Qi used to hide his aura, even Wang Tao did not notice it. Now, Ning Qi was in danger. Hua Yu was a little worried, but Lu He and Bai Jing were excited and ecstatic. They looked at this scene with great anticipation. An immortal spirit hand condensed above Ning Qi. Ning Qi realized that immortals liked to use this move. Perhaps it was more simple and violent when facing low-level existences. Bang! The immortal spirit hand was shattered by Ning Qi's punch. Then, under Wang Tao's shocked gaze, Ning Qi moved slightly and appeared in front of Wang Tao, punching him in the stomach. Wang Tao's entire body flew into the sky. However, he only flew 10 feet high because his neck was instantly grabbed by Ning Qi. At this moment, he looked like a kite. Bang! Another loud sound. Wang Tao was thrown to the ground by Ning Qi and smashed into the limestone floor. Ning Qi's eyes flashed with a strange look. He felt that something was wrong when he came to the celestial world. Now, he finally reacted. Logically speaking, his punch should have been enough to destroy the entire courtyard. However, there was only a human-shaped mark on the ground. It was not that his power had weakened, but that the celestial world's heavenly path technique was interfering. This interference was not directed at Ning-Chi alone, but at the entire celestial world. For example, a great vehicle stage cultivator who could destroy a planet with a single punch on the infinite sky star might only be able to destroy a small mountain in the celestial realm. Previously in the Nine-Sect Alliance's gladiator arena, as well as the battle between Wenxing and Wenqing, Wu Xianyang, and the others, the gigantic fist seal at the One clan's side had given Ning-Chi a strange feeling. It was only until today that Ning-Chi finally realized it. This battle should be able to destroy several planets, right? Bang! Ning-Chi stepped forward and stepped on Wang Tao's waist. Patter! With a crisp sound, Wang Tao's entire spine was trampled into powder by Ning-Chi. He looked as limp as a dead snake that had its bones pulled out. Bang! 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 Everyone looked at the scene in front of them dumbfounded. They saw Wang Tao being beaten by Ning-Chi without any resistance. His chi had dropped from the early stage of Earth Immortal to the Human Immortal stage. Even his cultivation level had dropped. One could imagine how serious Wang Tao's current injuries were. However, from the beginning to the end, Wang Tao did not even have the time to speak. Every time he opened his mouth, Ning-Chi's fist or foot would land on him again. At this moment, Wang Tao could only gasp and grit his teeth. The fear in Lu He and Bai Jing's eyes became more and more intense. Their bodies could not help but tremble as they retreated step by step. As for those missing Moon Peak disciples who had never seen Ning-Chi fight before and had only followed out of curiosity, they were unexpectedly recruited by Wang Tao. They looked at Ning-Chi with fear in their eyes. Unbelievable! Why? A sweeping disciple could actually beat an early-stage Earth Immortal inner disciple into such a state. What cultivation base does this guy have? Huang Tong looked at Ning-Chi in shock, his palms trembling slightly. And Brother Ning, how could he be so strong? With such combat strength, how could he be arranged to be a sweeping disciple? That's right, it was Senior Brother Wang Tao who brought him to the External Affairs Hall. Senior Brother Wang Tao must not have known that Brother Ning has such terrifying strength. Hua Yu stared blankly at Ning-Chi. After figuring this out, her thoughts suddenly became clear. The rest of the sweeping disciples had changed from shock and fear to deep fear. No matter what the outcome was today, the Golden Sun Peak would not let this matter go easily. Gulp. The steward who brought Ning-Chi and the others to the missing Moon Peak was also present. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva with fear in his eyes. Fortunately, his words and actions did not offend Ning-Chi. Otherwise, perhaps he would have become like Wang Tao now. This boy, Senior Brother Fan, looked at the scene in front of him with a complicated expression. He had already begun to think about how to deal with the aftermath of this matter. He did not know whether it would implicate the missing Moon Peak. After all, Wang Tao was beaten into such a state in the missing Moon Peak. Thinking of this, Senior Brother Fan quietly left the courtyard. Bang! Dust was flying. Don't hit me. If you hit me again, I'll die. Wang Tao's face was covered in blood as he begged for mercy with great difficulty. He looked at Ning-Chi with eyes filled with fear. Outsiders might not understand the difference between an Earth Immortal and a worldly immortal, but he was very clear about it. Just now, in Ning-Chi's hands, Wang Tao felt as if he was facing a perfected Earth Immortal. In the Xianjian sect, the existence of the heavenly immortal stage was either a true disciple or an elder, and was revered by others. As for the perfected Earth Immortal stage that was slightly lower than the existence of the heavenly immortal stage, they were also the cream of the crop amongst the inner sect disciples. An early stage worldly immortal actually had the fighting power of an Earth Immortal. How could this not make Wang Tao feel fear? Especially since Ning-Chi did not let him go now. If he continued to fight, Wang Tao knew that his soul would be destroyed. What? Ningqi seemed to be unable to hear clearly. Don't fight anymore. Wang Tao's face revealed a look of shame and anger. He felt extremely humiliated in his heart. A dignified early-stage earthly immortal was lying at the feet of an early-stage worldly immortal and begged for mercy. Bang! 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 After a few more heavy punches, Wang Tao completely fainted. His aura was weak, and he was already on the verge of death. Every single one of these loud sounds seemed to directly strike at the hearts of everyone present, causing their bodies to tremble. Immediately after, Lu He and Bai Jing were horrified to discover that Ning Qi was walking towards them. Plop! The two of them subconsciously knelt on the ground. There was no longer any resentment in their eyes. All that was left was boundless fear. I've said it before. I'll hit you every time I see you. Ning Qi walked in front of the two of them and looked down at them with the corner of his mouth slightly raised. Let us go. We know our wrongs. We will definitely not cause trouble for you in the future. Chapter 2275. Ah! Bai Jing screamed in fear. His whole body trembled as he felt that his shoulders had become very heavy. Go! Ning Qi smiled. Bang bang bang! The screams gradually became weaker. The three bruised guys lay together. If not for the slight rise and fall of their chests, everyone would have thought that they were dead. Go outside and chop 3 trees. Cut them into wooden stakes and stick them at the gate. Ning Qi smiled at Huayu. Chop trees. Huayu was stunned for a moment. She didn't understand what was going on, but she still followed Ning Qi's instructions. When the 3 wooden stakes were erected at the courtyard's entrance, Ning Qi kicked Wang Tao and the other 2 directly toward the wooden stakes. The 3 of them smashed the courtyard's door and accurately smashed onto the wooden stakes. When they fell, a few cold lights flashed. Ning Qi used his immortal qi to condense a few icicles. They pierced through the shoulders and legs of Wang Tao and the other 2 and pinned them to the wooden stakes. Ugh! The 3 of them groaned unconsciously. When the rest saw this, they only felt a chill in their hearts. They looked at Ning Qi with fear and horror. Was this guy planning to hang Wang Tao and the other 2 here as a warning to others? The commotion here was finally noticed by someone. One by one, the disciples of the missing Moon Peak flew over. There were only a few dozens of disciples in the missing Moon Peak, and more than a dozen of them were in the courtyard. In addition, many of them had already left the missing Moon Peak to complete their tasks outside. At the moment, there were only a dozen or so disciples looking at Wang Tao-san with bewildered expressions. People. What's going on? That seems to be Lu He and Bai Jing. How did they get beaten up like this? The other person is Wang Tao. Wang Tao of the Golden Sun Peak. I've seen him a few times. I can't be wrong. Wang Tao of the Golden Sun Peak? How did he? The disciples of the missing Moon Peak looked at each other in shock. Then their eyes swept across the courtyard. When they saw a few other brothers in the courtyard, they quickly went forward to ask. Those guys did not dare to speak. They just subconsciously looked at Ning Qi. Brother Ning, let's turn a big problem into a small one. Senior apprentice Brother Wang is an inner disciple of the Golden Sun Peak. His master, his martial ancestor is the great elder of the Pill Hall, Ancestor Yi. If we make things too ugly, he will definitely be furious. You see. Huang Tong gathered his courage and looked at Ning Qi as he cautiously said. He was unwilling to speak in his heart, but this time, Wang Tao had come to this place because of his report. Now that he had become like this, if he did not care about it, after this matter was settled, his position as the Hall Master of the Foreign Affairs Hall would probably be changed. Whether or not he could stay in the Xianjian sect was a problem. Huang Tong did not dare to continue thinking about this matter. This has something to do with you again? Ning Qi faintly looked at Huang Tong. When Huang Tong met Ning Qi's gaze, He couldn't say anything else. More than a dozen disciples of the missing moon peak looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. Could it be that this guy, who was dressed like a sweeping disciple, had beaten Wang Tao and the other two to such a state? Fortunately, Wang Tao and the others are not dead. Two beams of light flew over from afar and landed in front of everyone. One of them was Ing Zhenxuan, and the other was Senior Brother Fan. He had sneaked out of the courtyard to inform Ing Zhenxuan of what had happened. Otherwise, if Wang Tao was beaten to death in the moon-lacking peak, the already declining moon-lacking peak would be destroyed. How could he endure the anger from Jinri Peak? Seeing that Wang Tao was not dead, Senior Brother Fan heaved a long sigh of relief, and then his expression became extremely strange. The three of them looked like they were hanging on the wooden stakes, and they were in a sorry state, not to mention that one of them was an inner disciple of the Xianjian sect, an early-stage Earth Immortal. Wang Tao? Luha? Bai Jing? A look of surprise flashed across Ing Zhenxuan's eyes. She then looked at Ning Qi with a strange expression. After hesitating for a moment, she said, "The three of them? You asked for it." Ning Qi smiled. "It's just a competition between sect disciples. It's a very normal thing. Why did you call me over?" Ing Zhenxuan glanced at Senior Brother Fan and left after saying that. But before she left, she gave Ning Qi a deep look. "Eldest senior sister, this is..." Senior Brother Fan was dumbfounded. A competition between sect disciples? Was a disciple of the sect also considered a disciple of the sect? Everyone looked at Ing Zhenxuan's back with a strange expression and thought to themselves. But speaking of which, a disciple of the sect was indeed a disciple of the Xianjian sect. It's just that after so many years, no one would really look at a disciple of the sect. Huang Tong pondered over Ing Zhenxuan's words, and his expression changed. If this was a fight between disciples of the sect, then Wang Tao didn't die. His cultivation just dropped from the earthly immortal stage to the human immortal stage. At most, Jin Rifeng would scold him. Moreover, Ing Zhenxuan's background, however, it was hard to say whether Jin Rifeng would retaliate in secret. Is there anything else? Ning Qi swept his gaze across. We'll leave now." The disciples of the missing moon peak, who had accepted Wang Tao's invitation, hastily cupped their hands and said their goodbyes. At this time, Senior Martial Brother Fan reacted and said to them, "I've already told eldest Martial Sister about your transfer to the Golden Sun Peak. Eldest Martial Sister has agreed to let you leave the missing moon peak. From now on, you're no longer part of the missing moon peak." My disciple. What? Did they switch to Golden Sun Peak? There's such a thing? It must be Wang Tao's doing. Damn it, does he want our moon missing peak to have no last disciple and disband? Fanzing, what do you mean by this? Damn it. Wang Tao was already unconscious, so how could they go to Golden Sun Peak by themselves? Fanzing was obviously tricking them. No wonder Ing Zhenxuan purposely humiliated Wang Tao here. So she already knew about this. Wang Tao really shot himself in the foot this time. Huang Tong thought to himself. What? You are no longer disciples of my moon-lacking peak. If you dare to behave atrociously here. Fan Zheng's eyes turned cold. The disciples were shocked when they heard this. They subconsciously glanced at Ning Qi and said angrily, "We'll wait for Senior Martial Brother Wang Tao here." This. Brother Ning, what do you think? Fanzing looked at Ning Qi. It's fine as long as they don't disturb me. It's up to them how long they want to wait here. Ning Qi said faintly and turned back to the courtyard. Huang Tong and the rest heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this. Ning Qi's presence made them feel pressured. Since Brother Ning wants you to stay here, you can stay here. But remember to take off your clothes. These are the robes of my moon-missing peak. Chapter 2276. Grandpa, come in. In the tallest and grandest hall of the moon-missing peak, there was a spirit-gathering formation, causing the spirit chi here to be 3 to 5 times stronger than the rest of the moon-missing peak. Ingzhinshuan walked in front of an old man and gently supported him. The old man laughed. "Grandpa is not that old, don't underestimate your grandpa." Ingzhinshuan smiled. "Grandpa, an interesting guy came to the moon missing peak." The old man raised his eyelids. "What guy makes you feel that it's interesting?" Ingzhinshuan explained the situation, and the old man fell into deep thought. Sweeping disciple, early stage worldly immortal, beat that brat Wang Tao unconscious? The old man muttered to himself, "A long, long time ago, our ancestral star might have had this kind of talent, but it's been many years since I've heard of a worldly immortal being able to fight an earth immortal. Wang Tao inherited the Golden Sun sword technique, but he still can't beat him," Ingzhinshuan said with a strange expression. Zhinshuan didn't see any traces of the Golden Sun sword technique there. No traces of the Golden Sun sword technique? He couldn't even use his sword technique and was defeated. "It's indeed interesting. How did you deal with it?" The old man's eyes flashed. "Our moon missing peak has more than 10 disciples who joined the Golden Sun peak, so I did not deal with this matter. Wang Tao did not die, but his cultivation seemed to have fallen from earth immortal to worldly immortal. I treated it as a battle between sect disciples. It's normal for there to be wins and losses, right?" Ingzhinshuan smiled. "A mere inner sect disciple dares to make a move on my missing moon peak. That's right, this is a competition between sect disciples. That sweeping disciple, you take care of him, with such fighting strength. He was actually arranged to go to the External Affairs Hall. There are more and more vermin in the Xianjian sect. Don't worry. Even if Yi Rulong personally, I can also stop him, if he wants to stand up for his good-for-nothing grand disciple. I don't think he really dares to offend our moonless peak. Otherwise, if the ancestor finds out, he won't be able to bear the consequences." The benevolent expression on the old man's face disappeared without a trace, and his eyes revealed a trace of viciousness. One could imagine that when he was young, he must have been an ambitious person. "Zhinshuan understands." Ingzhinshuan smiled and nodded. Wang Tao and the other two were hung on the wooden stakes for 3 whole days before they woke up one after another. When they realized their current state, their faces were instantly filled with rage. An inner sect disciple and 2 outer sect disciples were hung in front of the courtyard where the sweeping disciples lived. This was a great humiliation. Just as the 3 of them were about to move, Ning Qi's light voice came from inside. However, to them, this voice was as heavy as a mountain, pressing down on them. They did not dare to act rashly. "Those who leave will be killed." "He really dares to kill me?" Wang Tao was hesitant, and in the end, he didn't dare leave this place arbitrarily. "Senior brother Wang Tao." Lu Ha and Bai Jing looked at Wang Tao. "Go to the Golden Sun Peak and send the message." Wang Tao looked at the dozen or so fellows who were guarding them and said. Before these guys could do anything, a few silhouettes broke through the sky and arrived. They were the outer disciples of the Golden Sun Peak, who had followed Wang Tao to the missing moon peak to watch the show. Later, when they found out that Ning Qi wasn't here, they bade farewell and left. Their cultivation bases were higher than the disciples of the missing moon peak. Each of them was a late human immortal. When they saw Wang Tao and the other 2 in a sorry state, they almost lost their footing and staggered a few steps. "Senior brother Wang? You guys are..." One of them walked in front of Wang Tao in shock and said in disbelief. Wang Tao was an early earth immortal. How did he become like this, and was even nailed to a wooden stake? "Huayu, go and chop another 5 trees. Ning Qi's voice suddenly came from the courtyard. Wang Tao and the other 2 trembled subconsciously. There were exactly 5 outer sect disciples of the Golden Sun Peak. In the next moment, a wretched figure flew out of the courtyard. Not long after, he chopped down 5 trees, cut them into stakes, and stuck them in front of the courtyard. Huayu looked at the 5 Golden Sun Peak disciples with a strange expression, as if she was waiting for something. "Quickly return to the Golden Sun Peak and inform my master." Just say, Wang Tao roared at the 5 outer disciples of Golden Sun Peak. Senior brother Wang Tao, what did you say? When the 5 saw Wang Tao's voice stopped abruptly, their faces revealed a trace of surprise. In the next moment, they suddenly found that there was an extra figure next to them. Who? Courting death? That guy flew into a rage when someone suddenly got so close to him. Just as he was about to attack, a fist landed on his face. Bang! The huge force contained in the fist instantly disfigured that guy, causing him to fall backward. Who are you? Let's go together. Bang! 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 Hang them up, Ning Qi said lightly. Hua Yu hesitated for a moment. Finally, she gritted her teeth and hung the 5 guys on the wooden stakes one by one. Huang Tong, who had been watching this scene from the side, became more and more anxious. When Ning Qi returned to the courtyard, Huang Tong quietly left the missing moon peak. In the distance, 2 pairs of eyes watched the show from the beginning to the end. A pair of slightly aged eyes gradually disappeared, while the other pair of eyes looked towards Huang Tong. Hall Master of the Foreign Affairs Hall. Fine, I'll let you be the messenger and see how Golden Sun Peak handles this matter. Not long after, Ying Xuan appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. At this time, Wang Tao was still clear-headed. Lu He and Bai Jing also saw Ying Xuan and hurriedly asked for help. Great Senior Sister, save us. That guy is crazy. That disciple who sweeps the floor is crazy. Ying, Junior Sister Ying. Wang Tao's expression was incomparably humiliated, but he also hoped that Ying Xuan could help him speak up, or at least let him get down from this humiliating wooden stake. Thus, he endured the monstrous anger in his heart and said in a good tone, Can you let him put me down? Aren't you here to deal with a disciple who sweeps the floor? Lost? If you lose, just hang yourself and wait for your master to pick you up. This is not the first time something like this has happened in our Xianjian sect. Ying Xuan said indifferently. Such an indifferent tone almost made Wang Tao spit out a mouthful of blood. He stared fiercely at Ying Xuan and was about to curse out loud, but he glanced at the courtyard with lingering fear. In the end, he gritted his teeth and shut his mouth. Great Senior Sister, don't call me Great Senior Sister. You are already disciples of Golden Sun Peak. When you see me in the future, just call me Senior Sistering. Ying Xuan said indifferently. Lu He and Bai Jing's faces instantly turned pale. The other disciples who had transferred to Golden Sun Peak also did not dare to look at Ying Xuan in the eye. They all lowered their heads guiltily. Junior brother Ning, come out and help me concoct pills. Chapter 2277. Missing Moon Peak Pill Room. Ying Xuan had gotten a new cauldron from somewhere, but it exploded in no time. She was clearly disappointed. Ning Qi was still unscathed. Not a single cauldron fragment could hurt him. Ying Xuan had seen Ning Qi's battle prowess before, so she was not surprised. However, she frowned when she saw the faint smile on Ning Qi's face. What are you smiling at? You're using the wrong method. Ning Qi smiled. You know alchemy too? Ying Xuan's expression turned strange. Can I take a look at the Spirit Jade Pills recipe? Ning Qi smiled. Logically speaking, it was impossible to look at a pill's recipe without paying a certain price. However, Ying Xuan only pondered for 3 breaths of time before taking out a jade slip and handing it to Ning Qi. Ning Qi held the jade slip in his hand and scanned it with his divine sense. He immediately knew that the refining of this spirit jade pill would not be too difficult, but it also needed to be done at the right time. More than half a degree of heat control was not good, and less than half a degree of heat control was also not good. The slightest error could lead to 1,000 miles of error, and the final result would only be an explosion. With a thought, the Taishang Laojun cauldron that he had not used for a long time appeared before Ning Qi. The aura of this cauldron immediately made Ying Xuan feel that it was not simple. She was first surprised, then curious. An early-stage human immortal who knew alchemy? Eldest senior sister, spiritual ingredients and catalyst herbs. Ning Qi smiled. Ingzhinshuan suddenly waved her hand. A dozen spiritual ingredients with different auras appeared in mid-air and were sent to Ning Qi by immortal Qi. With a thought, the spiritual ingredients and herbs flew into Taishang Laojuan's cauldron. The next moment, 9 flames great Luo palm. 9 different immortal flames appeared below the cauldron. Ingzhinshuan's expression changed slightly. She had never seen these 9 immortal flames before. How could one person refine 9 different immortal flames? Even the alchemy grandmasters she had met before only had 2 immortal flames at most. That person was none other than the Stone River Pill Sect's grand overarching patriarch, Old Man Stone River, from where the blazing flame fan originated. He was a prodigy of the same generation as Old Man Mystic Sword, the publicly acknowledged number 1 Pill Grandmaster of the ancestral star. Pill. Then, Ingzhinshuan watched as Ning Qi controlled the 9 immortal flames with ease. The intensity of the flames fluctuated, and after a day, a strange fragrance filled the entire room. The disciples of the missing moon peak, as well as Wang Tao and the others, subconsciously looked in the direction of the pill room. The fragrance was too strong. Eldest senior sister has finally refined a cauldron of pills. This fragrance should be the spirit jade pellet. It's really not easy. Alas, it's a pity that the success rate is too low. Otherwise, with these pills, our moonless peak wouldn't have fallen to such a state. In the pill room, round and plump spirit jade pills filled with immortal qi flew out of the pill furnace one after another. There was a total of 18 pills. Ingzhinshuan was dazzled and in disbelief. According to what she knew, when the pill hall's grand elder Yi Rulong refined the spirit jade pill, his best result was 20 pills in a furnace, and every pill was a first-tier middle-grade quality. At the thought of this, Ingzhinshuan grabbed a spirit jade pill and examined it carefully. Finally, she threw it into her mouth and swallowed it. Finally, she looked at Ning Qi in surprise. First-tier supreme grade? You're still not proficient enough. You only produced 18 pills and wasted a lot of them. Ning Qi laughed. Still not proficient enough? A furnace of spirit jade pills produced 18 pills, and they were all first-tier supreme grade pills. This was not proficient enough? Immediately after, Ingzhinshuan came to her senses. Ning Qi's alchemy time seemed to be a little too short. From the start to the end, he only used less than a day. Wasn't this speed a little too fast? Yi Rulong's record seems to be 13 days? Ingzhinshuan couldn't remember clearly, but she was sure that it was impossible for Yi Rulong to refine the spirit jade pill in a day. Eldest senior sister, I wonder how many spiritual materials this spirit jade pill can be exchanged for? Ning Qi laughed. If I were to use sect contribution points to exchange for the spirit materials for the spirit jade pill, it would be 20 points per set, and the finished product of a middle-grade level 1 spirit jade pill would require 80 contribution points. As for the upper grade, it costs 120 contribution points. As for the supreme grade ones, there aren't many in the sect, so it's slightly more expensive at 200 contribution points. However, if you use the first-tier supreme-grade Spirit Jade Pill to exchange for the materials needed to refine the Spirit Jade Pill, you can exchange for at least 10 portions, or more. Ingzhinshuan said with a serious expression. Eldest senior sister, how many contribution points do you have? Ning Qi asked. Ingzhinshuan's face was slightly red. Because I exchanged for the pill formula and furnace, I don't have many contribution points left. I only have about 1,000. Then exchange these spirit jade pills and your contribution points for spiritual materials and spiritual herbs. Ning Qi said. Ingzhinshuan already understood what Ning Qi wanted to do. Her eyes were filled with joy. She nodded at Ning Qi and left the pill room without a word. However, when she reached the door of the pill room, she paused and turned to look at Ning Qi. You don't have to worry about Golden Sun Peak. With that, she flew into the air and disappeared from Ning Qi's sight. Xianjian Sect Mission Hall. This was the place where the disciples of the Xianjian sect handed over their missions. All the disciples of the Xianjian sect, including the elders, had to accept missions from here if they wanted to earn contribution points. Only by completing them would they be able to obtain the corresponding contribution points, and these contribution points could be directly exchanged for all sorts of things they wanted in the mission hall: immortal equipment, cultivation technique, immortal arts, pills, spirit materials. As long as the Xianjian sect had it, it could be exchanged here. However, the contribution points required were also very different. Furthermore, the emotion-extinguishing sword technique that Ning Qi wanted was not one that could be exchanged for. When Ing Zhenxuan arrived at the mission hall, some of the outer sect disciples bowed respectfully when they saw him. However, their gazes were slightly strange as they looked at Ing Zhenxuan's back, as if they were mocking him. She's here again. Didn't she exchange for a low-grade pill furnace just now? Did it explode again? Hee. Exploding furnaces is a common occurrence for her, right? If it was the missing moon peak of the past, it might have been able to support her expensive expenses. But now, the foundation of the missing moon peak had been emptied by her, right? If this continued, the missing moon peak would not even have a single disciple. I heard that during this period of time, the number of spirit jade pills that the disciples of the missing moon peak receive every year has been sharply reduced from 10 to 8. Only 8? Even I can get 20 spirit jade pills from the green bamboo peak every year, and there are at least 800 disciples in the green bamboo peak, right? Who says not? Chapter 2278. Ha! The few Elixir Peak inner sect disciples roared with laughter. Ing Zhenxuan looked at them coldly and said to the elder behind the counter, 1,000 contribution points for 50 sets of spiritual ingredients for refining the spirit jade pill. After a pause, Ing Zhenxuan handed over a pill bottle. There are 17 top-grade spirit jade pills in here. Exchange for 200 sets of spiritual ingredient. The laughter stopped abruptly. 17 top-grade spirit jade pills? The few Elixir Peak disciples looked at the pill bottle suspiciously with a hint of disbelief in their eyes. Even in Xianjian sect, there weren't many high-quality spirit jade pills like this. If they were to use contribution points to exchange, they would need 200 contribution points. Furthermore, they couldn't exchange for unlimited amount. Supreme-grade spirit jade pill? The expression of the elder at the exchange counter changed. He carefully opened the bottle and a strong fragrance immediately gushed out. Judging from the fragrance, the grade of the spirit jade pellet inside was definitely not low. However, the elder still took out one pellet and carefully observed it. Then, he looked at the rest of the pellet. 16 pills. In the end, it was determined that it was a top-grade spirit jade pill. I can only exchange for 170 set. The elder said indifferently. It's really a top-grade spirit jade pill. Where did she get it? Did she go to Stone River Elixir Sect to buy it? The few Elixir Peak disciples revealed looks of surprise. 200 sets, don't return it to me. Ing Zhenxuan smiled, but her eyes were resolute. This. All right, the elder hesitated for a moment. Looking at Ing Zhenxuan's expression, he nodded and kept the pill. A normal disciple would need 200 contribution points to exchange for a top-grade spirit jade pill at the exchange counter. However, they didn't need that much capital. In addition to the scarcity of top-grade spirit jade pills, the spiritual ingredients needed to refine them weren't as precious. Therefore, he gave Ing Zhenxuan 200 set. Instead of losing money, he would earn a fortune. A total of 250 sets of spiritual ingredients were quickly sent to Ing Zhenxuan. After confirming that there were no mistakes, she turned and left. Wait! The few Elixir Peak disciples stopped Ing Zhenxuan. What's the matter? Ing Zhenxuan said coldly. Junior sister Zhenxian, where did you get this first-tier top-grade spiritual jade pill? The youth who first mocked Ing Zhenxuan chuckled. What does this have to do with you? Ing Zhenxuan's figure shifted slightly as she passed by the few of them and left. The few Elixir Peak disciples stared coldly at Ing Zhenxuan's back view with a hint of anger in their eyes. Senior Brother Hua, Ing Zhenxuan is really arrogant. The missing moon peak is already half dead. Hee, let's wait for the day the missing moon peak disbands. Since she loves refining elixirs so much, why don't we get Master to take her in? Haha, that will be fun. Ing Zhenxuan's silhouette paused for a moment before disappearing from everyone's sight. The inner disciple called Senior Brother Hua sneered. She still thinks she is the daughter of a golden, immortal patriarch. She is living in a dream. She will learn to control her temper in the future. A total of 250 sets of spirit materials, all used to refine the spirit jade pill. In the elixir room, Ing Zhenxuan handed the spiritual materials to Ning Qi with anticipation. All right, I'll give you the spiritual jade pill tomorrow. Ning Qi nodded and left with the spiritual materials. Ing Zhenxuan was a little shocked. You're not going to refine elixirs here? This is too slow, Ning Qi said with a faint smile. Ing Zhenxuan was stunned. Ning Qi had already left. She fell into deep thought. What did Ning Qi mean by too slow? On his way back to the courtyard, Ning Qi passed by Wang Tao and the others. Their gazes towards Ning Qi were filled with resentment. The few missing Moon Peak disciples who had been guarding Wang Tao didn't even dare to look Ning Qi in the eye. When Ning Qi arrived, they all lowered their heads and looked at their toes. You won't be arrogant for long. Wang Tao looked at Ning Qi's back view and muttered to himself. Huang Tong had already left for a day. Wang Tao believed that he must have gone to Golden Sun Peak to send a message. Otherwise, he would definitely lose his position as the Hall Master of the External Affairs Hall, in the top-notch cultivation training ground. In addition to the beginning, it took a day to refine a furnace of spirit jade pills. After a few months, Ning Qi could basically maintain a furnace of pills in half a day, and the quantity of pills was also slowly increasing. In the beginning, he could only refine 16 or 17 pills, and later he could refine 24 or 25 pills, which was basically the limit. 10 sets of spiritual materials and elixirs were used up. In total, Ning Qi obtained more than 5,000 peak-grade spiritual jade pills. According to contribution points, this could be exchanged for more than 1,000,000 contribution points. There were a few failures during this period. However, unlike Ing Zhenxuan's cauldron which exploded, Ning Qi controlled the losses to a minimum. The next day, in the elixir refining room. Senior sister, these are 5,000 peak-grade spiritual jade pills. If you exchange them for spiritual materials and elixirs in the sect, it would be too conspicuous. You can exchange them outside the sect. However, I have a request. Don't let anyone know that I'm the one refining the pills. Ning Qi smiled. Ing Zhenxuan looked at the pill bottles in front of her numbly. These are all spiritual jade pills? Yes. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. Ing Zhenxuan was in disbelief. She casually opened a few bottles and a rich fragrance wafted out. It was indeed the smell of spiritual jade pills. How did you in a day? Ing Zhenxuan stared at Ning Qi in a daze. Buddha says, don't say. Ning Qi smiled. Ing Zhenxuan did not ask any further. She calmed herself down and nodded. All right, I won't ask. However, with so many spiritual jade pills, there will definitely be people who want to know who's the one refining the pills. Senior sister, haven't you been studying elixir refining for a long time? Ning Qi asked with a fake smile. Ing Zhenxuan's face turned red. You mean, that's right. All right. Ing Zhenxuan hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Although she didn't understand why Ning Qi didn't want to reveal that he knew alchemy, since he had made such a request, Ing Zhenxuan agreed. This way, she could help Ning Qi avoid unnecessary trouble. If others knew that Ning Qi could refine 5,000 spiritual jade pills in a day, even the Stone River Elixir sect would come to snatch him away. From today onwards, the missing Moon Peak will finally see some improvement. Ing Zhenxuan was elated. Golden Sun Peak. Huang Tong did not get to see Yi Tian, but he did see a few of Wang Tao's senior brothers. When they heard Huang Tong's intentions, they were enraged. Junior brother Wang Tao is being hung at the missing Moon Peak? There's such a thing. Bring us there. Should we ask Peak Lord Yi about this? Do you think we are no match for him? Chapter 2279. 5,000 top-grade Stage 1 Spirit Jade pellets can be exchanged for at least 50,000 sets, or even more. If all of them are refined, there will be 1,000,000 Spirit Jade pellets, and with the width of my immortal meridian, I will have to fill in at least a few million of them. At that time, I will take 10 to 20,000 Spirit Jade pellets to exchange for some spirit materials. The remaining Spirit Jade pellets are enough for Ing Zemprofound to use. If more of them flow into the Xianjian sect, the price will definitely drop, and at the same time, it will attract unnecessary attention. Ning Qi was deep in thought as he walked towards the courtyard. He was filled with anticipation. Once Ing Zhenxuan returned and concocted the Spirit Jade pill, he would be able to start cultivating. This time, Ning Qi wouldn't come out of seclusion until he reached the intermediate worldly immortal stage. Just as he reached the entrance of the courtyard, Ning Qi saw a few figures standing in front of Wang Tao and the rest. One of them was helping Wang Tao and taking him down from the pillar. Huang Tong was standing behind those people with his head lowered. Lu He, Bai Jing and the rest looked at those figures in anticipation. Senior brothers, it's this kid. When Wang Tao saw Ning Qi, his body could not help but tremble, and then his eyes revealed a trace of rage as he roared at Ning Qi. When Lu He and Bai Jing saw Ning Qi, their eyes revealed deep fear, but they were also looking forward to Wang Tao's senior brothers helping them suppress Ning Qi and help them vent their anger. It's him? One of the intermediate earthly immortal experts standing beside Wang Tao glanced at Ning Qi indifferently, then turned to Huang Tong with a questioning look in his eyes. Because to them, Ning Qi's qi was only at the early worldly immortal realm. Could an early worldly immortal really beat their junior brother Wang Tao to such a state? Yes, it's him, Huang Tong laughed dryly and nodded. This kid is only at the early stage of the worldly immortal stage, and he's even a disciple sweeping the floor. Did you guys recognize the wrong person? The few of them looked at each other doubtfully, then looked at Wang Tao. Junior brother Wang, tell me, who made you look like this? Senior brothers, it's him. He was the one who beat me up like this. Junior brother's soul was almost scattered by him, and they were all killed by him. Wang Tao looked at Ning Qi with a sinister expression, and at the same time pointed at the few Gold Sun Peak outer sect disciples who were beaten up by Ning Qi and hung on the pillars. Yes, senior brothers, it's this person. He must have used some secret treasure to conceal his cultivation aura, which caught us off guard. Those people nodded hurriedly. Looks like it really is him. Wang Tao's senior brothers exchanged glances with each other, their expressions grave. One of them took a few steps forward and walked towards Ning Qi. However, when he was about 10 feet away from Ning Qi, he stopped and coldly stared at Ning Qi. My junior brother's injuries, were they really caused by you? Sigh, Ning Qi sighed and ignored that person. Instead, he looked at Wang Tao and said, Isn't it better to just hang it up there? Why did he have to come down? Do you want me to hang it up again? You. Wang Tao's eyes revealed a trace of fear, but he immediately remembered that his senior brother's cultivation was much higher than his. The weakest among them was a mid-earthly immortal, and the strongest was a late earthly immortal. There was no reason for them to not be a match for this kid even if they joined forces. Thinking of this, Wang Tao heaved a long sigh of relief. He's a little arrogant. Wang Tao's senior brothers looked at each other with a smile. Hua Yu, 4 pillars, Ning Qi said faintly. Hua Yu, who had been hiding in the courtyard, heard this and her face turned pale. The other 4 people looked at him gloatingly. Hua Yu, Brother Ning asked you to cut down trees, why aren't you going? Go to hell. Those are all earthly immortals. Will Brother Ning be a match for them? In the end, if Wang Tao's master comes, what should we do? Hua Yu cursed in his heart. But after hesitating for 2 or 3 breaths, he still flew out. Without looking at the crowd, he went to cut down a few trees, cut them into pillars with the fastest speed and inserted them in the courtyard's entrance. Then he immediately returned to the courtyard, not daring to look at Wang Tao's group. 4 pillars? He wants to hang us up too. 4th senior brother, 5th senior brother, 7th junior brother, I think we have to kill today. Not bad. The 4 of them glanced at each other before pursing their lips and smiling. Step by step, they walked towards Ning Qi. While they were walking, a buzzing sound could be heard as 4 flying swords shot up into the sky from behind them. The flying swords emitted an incomparably dazzling golden light that resembled suns, incomparably dazzling to the eyes. He hurriedly squinted his eyes and covered them with his hands. The remaining dozen or so disciples of the missing moon peak suddenly flew over. After seeing this scene, their faces revealed a look of shock. At the same time, a pair of eyes appeared in the void, secretly observing the battle below. Golden Sun Sword Art. These people are inner disciples of Golden Sun Peak? 4 Earth Immortals? I think he's Wang Tao's senior 4 Earth Immortals working together to display the Golden Sun Sword Art. I'm afraid even our miss can't withstand it. The Golden Sun Sword Art is famous for being able to defeat the enemy with numbers. If 99 Golden Suns are formed, they may even be able to fight against an early-stage Heaven Immortal. Fan Xing and the others glanced at each other and had a bad feeling in their hearts. But even if they wanted to help, there was nothing they could do. The missing moon peak only had 1 inner disciple, Ingzhenxuan. The rest were all outer disciples, and their cultivation was only at the human immortal stage. Even if they joined forces, they would not be able to defeat one of the 4. And he's dead. Wang Tao clenched his fists tightly with a trace of regret in his eyes. If he hadn't been careless that day and executed the Golden Sun sword technique right from the start, coupled with his superior-grade flying sword, he would have been able to kill that lad directly and wouldn't have been humiliated later on. Junior brother Bai Jing, the day of our revenge is coming, Lu Ha said to Bai Jing excitedly. Although the 2 of them hadn't been taken down in time and were still hanging on the pillars, with a thought, they used their own immortal qi to free themselves from the wooden pillars and landed on the ground. In these few days, their injuries had already healed by 30 to 40%. A mere ordinary wooden pillar without an array formation couldn't possibly trap them. They would. Seeing this, the others followed suit. They did not take Ning Qi's previous threat seriously at all. They already believed that Ning Qi would definitely be suppressed. Suppress! The 4 of them shouted in unison. The 4 flying swords shot towards Ning Qi at lightning speed. In the process, the 4 flying swords merged into one, and its power was many times greater. Chapter 2280. Puff, 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 puff. The 4 senior brothers of Wang Tao spurted out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Their divine souls were shaken violently by the destruction of their flying swords. How could this be? The 4 of them stared at the scene in disbelief. How could their immortal swords be destroyed by a simple punch from their opponent even after they had unleashed the Golden Sun sword technique? Me. Ning Qi moved slightly and appeared in front of one of them in an instant. He slapped the man's body, causing him to sink into the ground. Speak. Only then did the other 3 react. Just as they were about to move, another one was knocked out by Ning Qi. Pass. 2 intermediate Earth Immortals were already kneeling, leaving only 1 intermediate and 1 advanced Earth Immortal. The advanced Earth Immortal was the 4th senior brother that Wang Tao and the others were talking about. He watched as his junior brother was sent flying by Ning Qi's punch, then violently grabbed his neck and threw him to the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. "You're not allowed to get down from the pillar without my permission." Ning Qi chuckled as he grabbed the neck of the advanced Earth Immortal and said to the stunned Wang Tao and the others. At this time, an outer disciple of the Golden Sun Peak had 1 foot on the ground, staring blankly at Ning Qi. Then, he climbed back onto the pillar and returned to his previous posture. His eyes were filled with endless fear. 4 Earth Immortals had joined hands, and one of them was even a late Earth Immortal. Yet they were easily suppressed by Ning Qi? It can't be. Fan Xing and the others watched this scene with their mouths agape. Huang Tong inhaled a breath of cold air. Ning Qi defeated the 4 inner disciples of the Golden Sun Peak with his bare hands and feet? The pair of eyes in the void also revealed a trace of astonishment, focusing all its attention on Ning Qi. In the courtyard, Hua Yu and the others exchanged a glance and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. They were speechless, not knowing how to express their feelings at this moment. You're not an early human immortal. Who are you? How could you be a sweeping disciple? The late Earth Immortal who was grabbed by the neck revealed a trace of fear in his eyes. He could sense an extremely terrifying qi from Ning Qi's palm, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Ask your junior brother if I'm a floor-sweeping disciple. Ning Qi glanced at Wang Tao and smiled. Woof bang! That late earthly immortal didn't even have the chance to speak before he was smashed to the ground by Ning Qi. I'll ask him when he wakes up. Ning Qi chuckled and walked towards Wang Tao and the others. Don't come over, don't come over. Lu He and Bai Jing suddenly let out a miserable howl. They retreated step by step in terror, only stopping when their backs hit a pillar. Looks like the lesson at the beginning wasn't enough. Ning Qi chuckled and rubbed his fist. This action caused a chill to rise in Wang Tao's heart. No, bang bang bang. Ning Qi's movements were very simple, not too fancy. Just like that, he punched Wang Tao's body again and again, but everyone felt as if his fists had punched into their hearts. Every time Ning Qi punched out, their hearts would tremble, and then, Wang Tao finally recovered with great difficulty. 1 Point's body fell into a state of serious injury again, and his aura was falling rapidly. A full-circle human immortal. Late human immortal. Mid-human immortal stage. Early human immortal stage. Only when Wang Tao's cultivation realm fell to the early human immortal stage did Ning Qi stop. With a light hook of his leg, Wang Tao flew to the pillar and hung on it steadily. A stench suddenly filled the air. Fan Xing and the others looked at Lu He and Bai Jing simultaneously and saw a puddle of yellow stains under their feet. Ning Qi frowned and said faintly, "Climb up." Yes. The 2 of them were stunned on the spot, but when they realized that Ning Qi didn't plan to beat them up again, they climbed up the pillar in ecstasy, exactly the same posture as before. Fan Xing and the others immediately showed disgust in their eyes. They didn't expect Lu He and Bai Jing to be so scared that they lost control of their bowels and urine. At this moment, Wang Tao's 4 senior brothers seemed to have woken up from their coma. Ning Qi smiled and walked towards them. Bang! 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 You want to rebel? Bang! We are bang! Master won't let bang! Don't hit my face, bang! Hua Yu, hang it up! Ning Qi smiled. Hua Yu walked out with fear and trepidation. She hung the 4 people together. At this moment, the entrance of the courtyard, which was not very big, had been occupied by the pillars. There were a total of 12 pillars. There were 4 Earth Immortals and 8 Human Immortals. Because Wang Tao's cultivation had fallen to the early stage of Human Immortal. Brother Ning, this scene is too grand. Will it affect our moon missing peak? Fan Xing mustered up his courage, and walked in front of Ning Qi. When the rest of the disciples of the missing moon peak saw this, they quickly followed behind Fanzing and looked at Ning Qi curiously. They couldn't understand why Ning Qi's cultivation was only at the early stage of the human immortal stage. But why did his punches and kicks carry such terrifying power? First senior sister said it's fine. Ning Qi smiled. Oh, that's good, that's good. Fanzing smiled and watched Ning Qi enter the courtyard. Then he glanced at Wang Tao and the others gloatingly and said, "Serves you right." After a pause, Fanzing looked at the pale disciples of the moon missing peak and said, "Are you still going to stand guard here? I think you're not far from being hung up there." A trace of fear flashed in their eyes, and they felt a little regretful. But after that, they immediately made up their minds. No matter how weak Wang Tao and the others were, they were backed by the Golden Sun Peak. The moon missing peak was nothing compared to it. The pair of eyes in the void gradually disappeared. No wonder Zhen Xian said he's interesting. With such combat strength, I'm afraid he's not much different from a perfected Earth immortal. Just an early-stage human immortal? He has great potential. Have you heard? What happened? About the moon missing peak. Don't keep us guessing. At the entrance of the mission hall, a few outer disciples gathered together. One of them whispered mysteriously, "There's a sweeping disciple in the moon missing peak." Everyone's eyes were filled with ridicule. Why was a mere sweeping disciple so mysterious? They thought that there might be some heaven and earth treasure in the moon missing peak. What's with your attitude? Let me tell you, this sweeping disciple isn't ordinary. Even a few inner disciples of the Golden Sun Peak were defeated by him. Such a thing happened? Chapter 2281. Missing Moon Peak. Several wretched figures were observing from afar. When they saw Wang Tao and the others, they immediately gasped. These people were the outer sect disciples of the various peaks. They had come to the missing moon peak after hearing some rumors. Otherwise, the spirit of the missing moon peak would not have been able to protect them. The air was so thin that even the sweeping disciples were unwilling to come here. More and more people are coming, but the inner disciples of Golden Sun Peak haven't arrived yet. I guess it won't be long before they arrive. Yes. Fanzing nodded, but there was still a trace of worry in his eyes. The main reason was that the missing moon peak was too weak. Apart from the dozen outer disciples who had transferred to the Golden Sun Peak, the entire missing moon peak only had a dozen outer disciples, Yingzhen and the old peak master. Tens of thousands of years ago, there were people who said that his lifespan might be exhausted. Now it should be about time, right? This matter might blow up. Do you think eldest senior sister can handle it? After all, Wang Tao and the others are backed by Forefather Yi. Wang Tao and the others aren't dead, so what can Forefather Yi do to them? Don't forget that eldest senior sister's father is also a golden immortal stage cultivator. He has only temporarily left the Xianjian sect, and one day, he will return. If it was you, you would dare to attack eldest senior sister or us without confirming his moonless peak. Shall we make our move? That's true, but don't just say that. The worst-case scenario is that he'll be handed over. However, with his current battle strength, perhaps old ancestor Yi won't kill him. Instead, he'll stay in the Golden Sun Peak. What a pity. If he could stay in our moonless peak, wouldn't it be equivalent to having one more inner disciple? Not to mention, he's able to defeat 4 inner disciples of Golden Sun Peak by himself. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye, but Yingzhen still hadn't returned. Ning Qi didn't find it strange. 5,000 top-grade Tier 1 Spirit Jade pills wouldn't be easy to exchange for alchemy materials. In order to fool others, Yingzhen would probably choose to exchange them elsewhere, such as the Stone River Pill sect. In this half a month, the news of Wang Tao and the others had been fermenting among the outer disciples of several peaks. Every day there would be people coming to check on them. Gradually, even some of the inner sect disciples received the news. After confirming the situation of Wang Tao and the others, their hearts were filled with shock. They secretly asked around and finally found out that Wang Tao and the others had been defeated by a disciple sweeping the floor, which was why they had been hung up in public in such a miserable manner. Junior brother Lu, it's here, the moon lacking peak. Hee hee, a place where even birds don't shit. One of them was Lu Bing, who had entered the Xianjian sect at the same time as Ning Qi. He was currently an outer sect disciple of the Great River Peak, and because of his purple aptitude, he was able to become a disciple of the Great River Peak's Peak Master, a golden immortal stage ancestor. Although he was only at the early stage of the human immortal realm, he wouldn't be afraid of Wang Tao because Wang Tao's master, Yi Tian, was only at the heavenly immortal realm. Senior brother Wei Tian, why are we here today? Lu Bing had been cultivating the entire time and did not hear any news, so he did not know why this senior brother Wei Tian would bring him to the moon lacking peak. The 99 peaks of the Xianjian sect, the missing moon peak, sat down respectfully. This was what he had heard from Wang Tao when he had just entered the sect. The Great River Peak he was on was one of the only 9 peaks in the Xianjian sect that had a golden immortal stage cultivator. There were tens of thousands of outer sect disciples, and their momentum was extremely great. Haven't you heard? Recently, a sweeping disciple came to the moon lacking peak. I heard that his fighting strength is extremely strong, and he suppressed Wang Tao, who brought you into the sect, and his trash senior brothers. Right now, he is hanging them on a pillar to show everyone. Hee hee, I have some enmity with Wang Tao, so how can I not come to watch the show? I'll also take a look at what kind of sweeping disciple has such extraordinary fighting strength. Wei Tian said with a smile that was not a smile. His body emitted a faint aura of an earth immortal. He was in existence at the middle stage of the earth immortal stage, and his cultivation was much higher than Wang Tao's. Sweeping disciple? Suppress senior brother Wang Tao? Is there such a thing? Lu Bing's eyes immediately revealed a look of curiosity. Very quickly, the two of them found Wang Tao and the others. When Lu Bing saw them clearly, he immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. He was hung up there, covered in injuries, and his aura was only at the early stage of the worldly immortal stage. He was indeed the Wang Tao who had brought him into the sect. What was different from before was that every word he said had to be said with a slap. At this moment, the fierce-looking Wang Tao was like a defeated rooster. His head drooped, looking dispirited and dispirited. Ha! It really is Wang Tao. Wei Tian brought Lu Bing to the bottom of Wang Tao and the others without any scruples, and looked at them with interest. That senior brother Wei Tian from the Great River Peak. Middle stage of the Earth Immortal stage. In the distance, Fan Xing and the others, who had been guarding this place to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings and troubles, looked at each other with a trace of worry in their eyes. Compared to the Golden Sun Peak, the power of the Great River Peak was even stronger. After all, the peak master of the Golden Sun Peak, Yi Tian, was only a heavenly immortal. The Dan Peak, controlled by Ru Long, could compete with the Great River Peak. The inner disciples of the Great River Peak are all here. Are they here to help Wang Tao? He's only at the intermediate stage of the earthly immortal stage. I'm afraid he's no match for Brother Ning. If Brother Ning hangs him up, won't our Moon Peak offend the other 3 peaks? The Golden Sun Peak, the Dan Peak, and the Great River Peak? Everyone's expression became extremely unsightly. That's... Wei Tian's expression changed slightly, because he saw a guy who he thought was not here. That guy's cultivation was higher than his, already at the advanced stage of the earthly immortal stage. But now, he seemed to have been severely injured and was hanging here with Wang Tao. At this moment, Wei Tian's mood of watching the fun gradually dissipated. His eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Creak. The gate of the courtyard opened. Ning Qi walked out. Wang Tao and the others seemed to have sensed something, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble. But Wei Tian and Lu Bing didn't notice it, because the two of them had focused their attention on Ning Qi. It's him? Junior brother Lu, do you know this person? Wei Tian looked at Lu Bing. Lu Bing's eyes revealed a trace of mockery, and he said indifferently, Senior brother Wei Tian, didn't I tell you that there's a disciple with low aptitude in this batch who can only be a sweeping disciple? That's him, Ning Beixian. Oh, so it's him. Wei Tian smiled, and his expression relaxed a lot. He waved at Ning Qi. Kid, come here, I have something to ask you. What's the matter, senior brother? Ning Qi walked over with a smile. Chapter 2282. Ning Beixian, I didn't expect you to be at the missing moon peak. What a coincidence. Lu Bing said with a fake smile. As he spoke, he glanced at Wang Tao and felt that it was a little strange. Wang Tao had suffered a loss at the missing moon peak, and Ning Qi just so happened to be at the missing moon peak as well? Ning Qi glanced at Lu Bing and ignored him. The corner of his mouth still had a faint smile on it, causing Lu Bing to frown slightly. Wei Tian laughed. I called you over to ask you, do you know what's going on with these guys? Them? Aren't they hanging up there? Ning Qi laughed. I know they're hanging up there. Let me ask you, who beat them up like this? No wonder you can only be a sweeping disciple. The smile on Wei Tian's face gradually disappeared as he looked at Ning Qi with a frown. What's wrong with being a sweeping disciple? I think it's pretty good. Ning Qi laughed. The two of you, I have some matters to attend to and will be going out for a while. If you want to know who hung them up there, you can ask the others. With that, Ning Qi cupped his hands and walked past the two of them. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that Ying Zhenxuan had not returned to go to the mission hall to see if there were any emotion-extinguishing sword arts that he could exchange for. At the same time, he wanted to see if there were any other pills in the Xianjian sect that were more suitable than the spirit jade pill to raise his cultivation. Xian went to get the pill formulas. He was in charge of concocting pills. Halt! Lu Bing placed his palm on Ning Qi's shoulder. His fingers were like eagle claws, firmly sinking into Ning Qi's shoulder. Senior brother Wei Tian asked you a question, do you dare not answer? When Fan Xing and the rest saw this scene, they sighed in their hearts. This time, not only would they have to offend the Gold Sun Peak and the Dan Mountain, even the Great River Peak would be implicated. They could only hope that the face of their old Peak Master and the already missing young Peak Master was still useful. Do you really want to know who made them look like this? Ning Qi sighed and turned to look at the two of them. Lu Bing's eyes flashed with anger. Are you deliberately mystifying? Speak! Wei Tian shouted coldly. At this time, the two of them had their backs to Wang Tao and the others, so they didn't notice that Wang Tao and the others had a trace of schadenfreude on their faces. From this, it could be seen that Wang Tao and the others were clear-headed just now. They deliberately didn't remind Wei Tian and didn't show any strange expressions to Ning Qi, just to see this scene. It's me. Ning Qi laughed. What? What are you talking about? Didn't you ask who made them look like this? It was me. Ning Qi laughed. Hiss! Lu Bing sucked in a breath of cold air. She looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. A layer of cold sweat began to form on the back of her hand that was gripping Ning Qi's shoulder. Is he telling the truth? Wang Tao, this group of Earth immortal stage existences, a dignified Xianjian sect inner sect disciple, was beaten to such a state by him alone? Impossible! This was impossible! Compared to Lu Bing, Wei Tian was much calmer. When he heard Ning Qi's words, his body had already unconsciously taken a step back, and then, he looked at Ning Qi with a scrutinizing gaze, wanting to find any flaws in Ning Qi's expression or eyes. He did not believe Ning Qi's words. At that time, Wei Tian had his own guesses. He believed that the disciple who did this was an existence of the Earth Immortal stage, and as for why he was still a disciple of the Earth Immortal stage with his cultivation, there might be a lot of things that he did not want others to know. The disciple in front of him was indeed only at the early stage of human immortal. Wei Tian was sure that he was not mistaken about this. "Little brother, did that guy not let you say it? Don't be afraid, I, Wei Tian, am the direct disciple of the great River Peak's Peak Master, and so is Lu Bing." Wei Tian chuckled as he looked at Ning Qi. "No, that's right." Hearing that, the fear in Lu Bing's heart gradually dissipated. His current identity was extraordinary. It was impossible for anything to happen to him in the Xianjian sect, and this guy in front of him, how could he be so strong? He's lying. Thinking up to here, Lu Bing was incomparably furious. He had actually been afraid for a moment just now. "If you don't say it, I don't mind hanging you up as well." Lu Bing immediately sneered. He wanted to regain some face for himself, and the hand that grabbed onto Ning Qi's shoulder tightened. "Then I'll prove it to you." Ning Qi laughed. In the next moment, Ning Qi's shoulder shook, and Lu Bing could not help but take 2 to 3 steps back. In that instant, Ning Qi had already appeared in front of Lu Bing and punched him in the stomach. Lu Bing immediately felt an excruciating pain in his stomach, and his body felt as if it was overturning rivers and seas. Like a cannonball, Ning Qi's body slammed into Lu He's pillar. Ning Qi's control of his strength was very subtle. Even with such a huge force, the pillar wasn't shattered by Lu Bing. Instead, Lu Bing hung on it perfectly. Lu Bing had already fainted. If one looked carefully, they would discover that the bones and internal organs in his body were all severely injured. Even his divine soul, which had merged with his body, was injured by this punch. "Junior brother Lu?" Wei Tian cried out in shock. Lu Bing had purple talent, and was highly valued by his master. When he first entered Dajiang Peak, there were rumors that his master wanted to nurture Lu Bing with all his might, because Lu Bing had at least the potential to become a sky immortal, and he might become a true disciple in the future. If he had the opportunity, it was not impossible for him to become a golden immortal. Now, in front of him, Wei Tian watched as Lu Bing was punched hard by his opponent, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Wei Tian instantly thought of what kind of punishment he would receive if anything happened to Lu Bing. The anger in his heart surged uncontrollably, and he pointed at Ning Qi and roared, "How dare you! I thought you guys didn't believe me?" Ning Qi smiled. "Die." Wei Tian still did not believe him, so in the next moment, he unsheathed his flying sword and sped towards Ning Qi at lightning speed, ready to tear Ning Qi into pieces. When Wang Tao and the others saw this, the corners of their lips curled up. Even though they were in a sorry state, it did not stop them from gloating over Wei Tian's misfortune. Clang! A punch. The flying sword shattered. Wei Tian spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at Ning Qi in disbelief. At this moment, he finally came to a realization. Could this sweeping disciple really be the one that was rumored to be? Thinking of this, Wei Tian only felt that it was a little unbelievable. But the most important thing was that he had seen Wang Tao's senior brothers hanging on the pillar with his own eyes. Among them, Wang Tao's fourth senior brother's cultivation was a small realm higher than his. This meant that he was most likely not his opponent. "Wait. Take your time." "I don't have time to take my time with you. Let's do this." Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 2283. Hua Yu chopped down another 2 trees. When she hung the unconscious Wei Tian on them, the outer sect disciples who were secretly watching the battle nearby became extremely shocked. Some of them even rubbed their eyes, not daring to believe what they had seen. Inner sect disciples of Dajiang Peak Wei Tian, an existence at the middle stage of the Earth Immortal stage, was actually beaten by an early-stage worldly immortal stage disciple to the point of not being able to retaliate? If it wasn't for the fact that they had already made some mental preparations, the shock in their hearts would have been even greater. Looks like those rumors are true. Senior brother Wang Tao and the others. Were they also beaten up to this state by that guy? Where did he come from? Why does he have such a powerful battle prowess? Sweeping disciple. This can't be a joke, right? I don't think it's a joke. I remember this person. He just entered the sect a while ago, and he was brought here by senior brother Wang Tao. Rumor has it that senior brother Wang Tao doesn't like him. No, it should be old ancestor Yi who doesn't like him. How could that be? This child came with 3 other people. One of them is the Zhao Tong that you have heard of during this period of time. He was personally accepted as a successor disciple by ancestor Xianjian. In another 3 years, the successor ceremony will be held. The other 2 are at the Heaven Immortal stage, and I heard that one of them left our Xianjian sect back then. However, Ancestor Yi seems to be at odds with that Golden Immortal stage ancestor, so he naturally doesn't like him. During the 3 stages of the trial, senior brother Wang Tao seemed to have made things difficult for them. That's right. When I passed by the entrance of the sword house, I saw him and another person. It should be Zhao Tong. He was left at the entrance by senior brother Wang Tao, while the rest entered the sword house first. So that's how it is. Everyone came to a realization. The way they looked at Ning Qi became complicated. Their eyes carried a trace of fear, curiosity, and admiration. Regardless of whether or not Ning Qi was hiding his cultivation, the fact that he was able to beat Wang Tao and the others into such a state meant that his fighting strength was at least at the late stage of the Earth Immortal stage. There weren't many existences like this in the Xianjian sect. Other than the successor disciples, only the top disciples of the inner sect, or the elders who were in charge of a region, had the strength of the late stage of the Earth Immortal. Not long after, Wei Tian gradually woke up. He first felt an intense pain coming from his body, and then he realized that he was hanging on a pillar. This is, ha ha ha. Wei Tian, come and watch the show. Wang Tao's 4th senior brother could not help but chuckle. Wei Tian glared at him. You don't even think about trying to leave this place. That guy said that if you act rashly, you won't get beaten up like this. Humph. Wei Tian glanced at Wang Tao fearfully. Wang Tao's aura was very weak, and he was only at the early human immortal stage. There was no need to think too much to know what was going on. Thinking of Ning Qi's methods, Wei Tian felt that he had no confidence at all. In order to avoid ending up like Wang Tao, he decided not to act rashly. He believed that as long as Dajiang Peak received the news, they would definitely be saved. Quest Hall. Ning Qi was wearing the uniform of a sweeping disciple, which attracted many strange gazes. However, no one came up to say anything. Usually, there would be sweeping disciples who were ordered to come to the mission hall to see if there were any good missions. So, Ning Qi went through the mission hall without anyone disturbing him. In the main hall, without the love destroyer swordsmanship, a look of pity flashed past Ning Qi's eyes. If the emotion-extinguishing sword art could be exchanged for with contribution points, with Ning Qi's methods, he would have many ways to quickly earn contribution points. But from the looks of it, it was clear that the emotion-extinguishing sword art was a secret that was not passed down in the Xianjian sect. If he wanted to learn it, he would have to meet several conditions. A few people could learn. Ning Qi planned to wait for Ying Zhenxuan to return before asking about the specific. It's you? When the outer sect disciples saw Ning Qi, a look of surprise flashed past their eyes. One of them chuckled and blocked Ning Qi's path. What's the matter? Ning Qi was just about to leave the mission hall. He raised his eyes and swept his gaze across them. These few fellows were also familiar faces. They had entered the Xianjian sect together with him. As expected, he became a sweeping disciple. Two of them laughed in ridicule. Because the rest of them were not at the worldly immortal stage, they had a kind of reverence towards Ning-Chi in their hearts. Although they wanted to laugh, they did not show it. Is this mission hall a place that a sweeping disciple like you can enter? One of them looked at Ning-Chi with a smile that was not a smile. I am also a disciple of the Xianjian sect. Why can't I come to this kind of public occasion? Tell me, does the Xianjian sect have any records of the rules that sweeping disciples are not allowed to enter the mission hall? Ning-Chi laughed. You! He originally wanted to tease Ning-Chi, but he was rendered speechless by Ning-Chi's question. The two of them looked at each other, and just as they were about to say something, they saw that Ning-Chi's figure had already passed them and walked out of the hall. Why are you leaving so quickly? It's fate that we met. How about this, we have a mission that's missing one person. Come and help us. Although you can't get the contribution points, we can use rewards to replace it. One of them caught up to Ning-Chi and said while grinning, Mission? Not interested. Ning-Chi waved his hand. A look of astonishment flashed across the other party's eyes. What kind of joke was this? Sweeping disciples did not have the qualifications to receive missions. Normally speaking, wouldn't they rather be invited to do missions together? For example, many outer sect disciples would invite the stewards of the External Affairs Hall. After all, these stewards had worked for a long time, their cultivation was not bad, and they were experienced and knowledgeable. At times, they were much stronger than the outer sect disciples who had just entered the Xianjian sect. Qi, a mere sweeping disciple, who does he think he is? Senior brother Zhao, who entered the sect with him, will become a successor disciple in a few years. What kind of arrogance is he putting on? You said, Zhao Tong is going to become a successor disciple? Ning-Chi's figure moved slightly, and appeared in front of that guy. Such a speed gave the other party a fright. Yeah, you still don't know? A trace of ridicule appeared in the other party's eyes. If that's the case, then there's one more direction to choose from. Ning-Chi's eyes moved slightly. I say, do you want to go on a mission with us? This is a rare opportunity. If this mission succeeds, everyone will be rewarded with 3,000 contribution points. Only we, the new outer sect disciples, can do it. Forget it, don't call him. That ancient immortal secret realm isn't too dangerous. We can go by ourselves. Chapter 2284. What, you know about it too? Yes. Ning-Chi nodded and ignored them. He flew toward the missing moon peak. Now that he knew this place, he had to go there to see if he could find some clues about the ancient immortals. But he alone was enough. He was not interested in going with those guys. A mere sweeping disciple dares to be so arrogant? They looked at each other, dumbfounded. Dajiang Peak. Peak Lord Hall. Yi Tian sat upright and still. On the main seat, a burly man sat. He looked to be in his 40s and had a long black beard. At this moment, he was staring at the entrance of the hall indifferently. A figure walked into the hall unhurriedly. He looked very old, and his body emitted an aura that was different from Yi Tian's. There wasn't much aura. This was a celestial immortal whose lifespan was about to run out. In front of the strong man, Huang Tong knelt on the ground with his head lowered. His body was trembling uncontrollably. Elder Ing, you're here. The strong man smiled and nodded at the old man. The old man referred to as Old Ing chuckled as he walked to the seat beside the burly man and sat down. His gaze first swept over Huang Tong, then looked at Yi Tian. Only then did he use his turbid eyes to look at the burly man. He smiled and said, Little brat Jiang, why did you specially call me over today? Elder Ing, please wait for a moment. Yi Rulong will be here soon. Let's talk about this when he arrives. The strong man smiled. He was not angry because Elder Ing called him Little Jiang. It could be said that the old man in front of him was the one who had lived the longest in Xianjian sect besides Elder Mysterious Sword. Even a golden immortal like him did not live as long as the old man. Because of this, he became the most special celestial immortal. Basically, all the golden immortals would have to give him some face. Little Yi is coming too? Elder Ing glanced at Yi Tian with a faint smile. After about 10 minutes, a figure walked in from outside the hall. Yi Rulong frowned slightly when he saw Elder Ing. He then looked at the strong man and said, "Jiang Kun, why did you call me here? Are you going to stand and talk?" Jiang Kun sneered. As soon as the two of them met, the smell of gunpowder spread out. Old Ing chuckled as he watched the scene, but Yi Tian's expression was a little ugly. "Everyone's here. Go ahead." Jiang Kun looked at Huang Tong and said indifferently. Yi Rulong snorted and sat next to Yi Tian. Yi Tian stood up and stood behind Yi Rulong. Although everyone present was a peak leader, Yi Tian had the lowest cultivation and seniority among them. Huang Tong's voice trembled as he told Yi Rulong everything that had happened. When Yi Rulong heard the last part, he glanced at Yi Tian with an ugly expression. "Master, this disciple has embarrassed you," Yi Tian whispered. Yi Rulong did not speak, but looked at Elder Ing thoughtfully. "That's how it is. This matter has already spread to more than a dozen peaks. I guess it won't be long before the entire sect knows about it. What do you think, Elder Ing?" Jiang Kun smiled and looked at Elder Ing. Elder Ing raised his eyelids as if he had just found out about this matter. He said in surprise, "So there's such a thing in my moon missing peak? Could it be that I've become muddle-headed from my closed-door training? Our mystic sword sect's sweeping disciple is already this strong? Even the inner sect disciples are no match for him? This old fox." Jiang Kun and Yi Rulong cursed in their hearts. Jiang Kun smiled and said, "I'm also very surprised about this. After knowing about this, I even specially ordered people to investigate. I'm afraid that Wang Tao is purposely making things difficult for that kid and arranged for him to be in the External Affairs Hall. However, all the disciples present that day swore that the sweeping disciple's aptitude is indeed very poor. The white light emitted by the Xian sword tablet is extremely weak, but the guy who went with him emitted a dazzling golden light. Now that he has been taken away by the mysterious sword ancestor, Elder Ing should know about this, right?" "Oh, I really don't know," a trace of surprise flashed in Elder Ying's eyes. This time, it didn't seem like he was pretending. He really didn't know that there was actually someone who could make the Xian sword tablet emit a golden light, and was even taken away by the mysterious sword ancestor. "But it's normal that I don't know. Ever since my son went missing, no one has been to the moon missing peak for many years. I'm usually in closed-door training and rarely go out. No one told me about this, so how would I know?" Elder Ing smiled. Jiang Kun and Yi Rulong's expressions changed slightly. Elder Ing was hinting at them. "I know what you mean. I'll go back and see what's going on. I'll just ask the sweeping disciple to send your kid back, okay? If there's nothing else, this old man will leave first. The spiritual energy here is really dense. I'm not used to it." Elder Ing stood up shakily, as if he would fall at any time. He smiled at the two of them. After saying that, he took 2 deep breaths and revealed an intoxicated expression. "No need," Yi Rulong and Jiang Kun said in unison. As soon as they said that, the two of them looked at each other, as if they were surprised that the other party had the same idea as them. "Oh? What do you guys think?" Elder Ing said with a faint smile. "This is just a fight between the younger generation. As the older generation, it's not appropriate for us to intervene. Otherwise, how would outsiders judge us? In my opinion, let the younger generation fight amongst themselves. If they don't have the ability, they'll be hanging on Elder Ying's moon missing peak forever. If they have the ability, I don't think Elder Ing will say anything about it." Yi Rulong smiled faintly. What can I say? The sweeping disciple isn't my disciple. You should ask him. Elder Ing pointed at Huang Tong and smiled. Isn't the sweeping disciple under his control? No objection, Huang Tong said in fright. How could a small late-stage human immortal like him dare to object to the decision of two golden immortals? If that's the case, Elder Ing, take care. Jiang Kuan sent Elder Ing off with a smile. When he returned to the hall, the smile on his face had gradually disappeared. He looked at Yi Rulong and said, You first or me? You only have 2. I have 5 grand disciples hanging on top. Naturally, I'll go first. Yi Rulong sneered. Then please. I'll give you a month. If you can't do it, it'll be my turn. Jiang Kuan said with a smile. Yi Tian, handle this matter well. Don't let me down. Yi Rulong took a glance at Yi Tian and disappeared from the spot. Martial nephew Yi, do you need my help? Jiang Kuan said with a smile. Thank you for your kindness, martial uncle. I'll handle this myself. Yi Tian cupped his hands. How could he dare to ask Jiang Kuan for help? If Yi Rulong knew about this, wouldn't he break his legs? Chapter 2285. When Sheng and the other 2 looked at each other with a strange expression on their faces. Had they really been discovered? You guys really do know. Yi Tian frowned. Since you know that his fighting strength is extraordinary, why didn't you say so beforehand? The 2 of us didn't know that he would join the Xianjian sect either. Wen Xing smiled. Is he really at the early stage of human immortal? Yi Tian's face revealed a trace of suspicion as he said. I wonder what Brother Ning did to make you pay so much attention to him. Wen Xing did not answer Yi Tian's question, but asked instead. All 5 of my disciples were defeated by him. Right now, they are hanging on the pillars of the missing moon peak for people to admire. One of my disciples, Wang Tao, was beaten down from the early stage of the Earth Immortal stage to the early stage of the Human Immortal stage. Yi Tian said indifferently. What? Wen Xing and the other 2 revealed looks of surprise. Wen Qing's expression was rather strange as she looked away. In the depths of her eyes there was a trace of carefreeness. Before coming to the Xianjian sect, she had thought that the Xianjian sect would immediately agree to help investigate the matter of the Wen family being destroyed, but she did not expect to encounter all sorts of difficulties. This made Wen Qing have an extremely bad impression of the Xianjian sect, and now that she heard that Ning Qi had beaten up Yi Tian's 5 disciples to such a state, she was naturally happy in her heart. Can you tell me where he came from now? Yi Tian said indifferently. I'm sorry, the 2 of us don't know Brother Ning's true origins. Before we met, he lost his memories and no longer remembers his past. He only remembers his own name. Wen Xing laughed. He's not a member of your Wen family? Yi Tian was a little surprised. No. The 2 of them shook their heads. Then if I send out a disciple and accidentally kill him, will the 2 of you have any objections? Yi Tian narrowed his eyes. Disciple? The 2 of them had already come to a realization. It seemed like Yi Tian did not plan to personally suppress Ning Qi then. According to their understanding of Ning Qi, the existence of the Earth Immortal stage would not be a threat to him. Actually, even if Yi Tian personally made a move, the 2 of them believed that Ning Qi would be able to handle it. That dragon claw that suddenly appeared might appear a second time. Naturally, we have no objections. Wen Xing smiled. All right then. Yi Tian smiled and stood up to see the guest off. After Wen Xing and Wen Qing left, he stood there and pondered for a while. Then, he called over an outer court disciple and said a few words. That outer court disciple left in a hurry. About an hour later, an incomparably handsome young man with a pair of eyes walked in front of Yi Tian and said respectfully. He saluted, Shizhuan. 9 swords, there's something I need you to do. Yi Tian said lightly. Master, please instruct me. The young man said respectfully. Your 4th junior brother, 5th junior brother. eighth junior brother is currently on the moon missing peak. They were defeated by a disciple sweeping the floor. I don't know if he's hiding his cultivation base, but it's obvious that his battle prowess is extraordinary. Go there and defeat him. Bring your junior brothers back. Let's kill him. Yi Tian said. Yes, master. The young man nodded and left expressionlessly without asking for the reason. The moon missing peak. The news spread far and wide. When Wei Tian and Lu Bing were also hung on the pillars as a warning to the public, with the missing moon peak as the center, more than a dozen peaks in the vicinity received the news. More and more outer court disciples rushed into the missing moon peak, and there were even many inner court disciples among them. They didn't get too close, but watched from a distance. When they saw Wang Tao and the others, their expressions became uncertain. Huayu, the moon missing peak is not peaceful anymore. Look, how long has it been? Thousands of outer court disciples come here every day. It won't be long before there are more than 10,000. Shu, don't talk. We'll just sweep the floor. Huayu stretched out her finger and gestured in front of her lips. Now that things had come to this, no one could control it anymore. During this period of time, the old peak master had not shown up. Huayu even guessed that the old peak master was planning to take this opportunity to let those arrogant guys know that the moonless peak was still a tiger with teeth. Maybe Brother Ning was found by the old peak master. Otherwise, how could a disciple sweeping the floor have such strong strength? Huayu thought to herself. The old peak master still doesn't want to see us? In the distance, Fan Xing and the other disciples of the moon missing peak did not have any intention of cultivating in seclusion. During this period of time, they had been watching over this place in shift. Even at night, they did not relax. Fan Xing shook his head. I went to see him, but the old peak master did not respond. Now that great senior sister is not here, we can only wait. Don't you think he's going a little too far? To offend the Gold Sun Peak, Dan Peak, and a River Peak, this is not a good thing for our moon missing peak. Not necessarily. Didn't you notice that during this period of time, they have been a lot more well-behaved when they came to our moon missing peak? One of them suddenly said. When everyone heard this, they nodded thoughtfully. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed so. Even some of the inner disciples who had inquired about the news from them had become much more polite. The way they looked at them did not seem to be as disdainful as before. But he will lose sooner or later, right? When he loses, not only will our moon missing peak be beaten back to its original state, in the future, it might be difficult for us to move an inch in the Xianjian sect. The outer court disciples of the three peaks added together are no less than tens of thousands. We don't need to think about that. Since things have come to this, let's just take one step at a time. Fan Xing said. Just as he finished speaking, they suddenly realized that the Xianjian sect disciples who had come to the moon missing peak to watch the show seemed to be in a commotion, and everyone looked towards the horizon. That was the direction of the Gold Sun Peak. He saw a figure slowly walking in the air. He seemed to be lifting his feet very slowly, but with every step he took, he could cross dozens of miles. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived in the sky above the moon missing peak. Double pupils? Is that the eldest senior brother of the 9 swords of the Golden Sun Peak? Wow, it's just like the rumors, he's so handsome. A female disciple grabbed her chest with both hands, her eyes seeming to have turned into hearts. At this moment, there were 1,000 to 2,000 female disciples in the moon missing peak, regardless of whether they were from the inner or outer sect. They all looked at the figure of the 9 swords with the same expression in their eyes, admiration. 9 swords, the eldest disciple of Yi Tian of the Golden Sun Peak. Although he did not obtain the position of a successor disciple in recent years, he was one of the few existences who had the chance to become a successor disciple. When he first entered the Xianjian sect, the profound sword tablet emitted an incomparably dense purple light. he had cultivated for less than 3,000 years and was already at the great perfection of the earth immortal stage. He was only half a step away from becoming a heaven immortal. In the Xianjian sect, regardless of whether it was a male or female disciple, many disciples took the 9 swords as their symbol. Chapter 2286. Senior Brother 9 swords must have come for Senior Brother Wang Tao and the others. Of course, not to mention that the missing moon peak has long since declined. Just based on the recent rumors, the Golden Sun Peak has to regain this phase. This time, Peak Lord Yi did not come personally, probably because he does not want to interfere in the affairs of these juniors. It's enough to have Senior Brother 9 swords. Among the inner sect disciples of our Xianjian sect, Senior Brother 9 swords is ranked in the top 10. The disciples who were watching the show at the missing moon peak whispered to each other. They looked at 9 swords with admiration and jealousy in their eyes. Naturally, they were admiring the female cultivators, while the male cultivators were purely jealous. They were jealous of 9 swords' talent, jealous of 9 swords' status, jealous of 9 swords' everything. The situation doesn't seem good. Fan Xing and the rest looked at each other. After seeing 9 swords, they felt that they could no longer watch. Let's go up and welcome them? Then, let's go. Senior Brother 9 swords. Fan Xing and the rest soared into the sky and arrived in front of 9 swords. 9 swords looked at them indifferently. His gaze landed on Wang Tao and the rest. His eyes immediately revealed a trace of undisguised killing intent. I heard that they were beaten to this state by a disciple of your missing moon peak? Senior Brother 9 swords, this might be a misunderstanding, Fan Xing laughed. His cultivation was too far from 9 swords'. If it wasn't for his identity as an outer sect disciple, if it was in the outside world, a worldly immortal wouldn't even have the qualifications to talk to an earth immortal. Scram! 9 swords said indifferently. Then, ignoring the ashen faces of Fan Xing and the rest, his body moved slightly and arrived above Wang Tao and the rest. Wang Tao and the rest seemed to have sensed something and slowly raised their heads. Then, their faces revealed ecstasy and grief. Eldest Senior Brother, I'll put you down first, 9 swords said indifferently. Ere Wang Tao and the rest looked at each other. Seeing that 9 swords was about to make a move, they hurriedly stopped him. Eldest Senior Brother, wait a moment. What is it? 9 swords frowned. Big Senior Brother, please suppress Ning Beixian first. It won't be too late for us to come back. Golden Sun Peak 4th Senior Brother smiled bitterly. Are you afraid of him? Zhu Jian looked at 4th Brother thoughtfully. The expressions of 4th Brother and the others became a little ugly and a little ashamed. However, Zhu Jian was right. They were really afraid of Ning Qi. If even Zhu Jian could not suppress Ning Qi, they would face an even more terrifying beating if they left the pillar without permission. Wang Tao it no longer mattered. If they were to continue fighting, they would not even be able to become human immortals. The others, however, feared that they would end up like Wang Tao. Do you know that the reputation of Golden Sun Peak has been completely lost because of you? Right now, everyone in the sect is talking about this. Zhu Jian said calmly. Eldest Senior Brother, Wang Tao and the others moved their lips and lowered their heads awkwardly. Where is he? Zhu Jian looked at Fan Xing and the others. Since Brother Ning has gone out, it shouldn't be long before he returns. Why don't Senior Apprentice Brother 9 Swords wait here for a while? Fan Xing smiled awkwardly. It was a pity that Grand Senior Sister wasn't here. If she was here, they wouldn't need to use their status as outer sect disciples to communicate with Zhu Jian, who was an elite figure in the inner sect. In this way, no matter what they said, they would appear to be submissive. You want me to wait for him here? Okay. Zhu Jian nodded calmly and slowly closed his eyes. Seeing this, Fan Xing and the others knew that there would be a fierce battle between Zhu Jian and Ning Qi. Since Jiu Jian was here, it meant that his master, Yi Tian, the peak master of the Golden Sun Peak, should know about this. Perhaps even Yi Rulong knew about it. Thinking of this, Fan Xing and the others were even more worried. Of Rich. Senior brother Nine Swords is waiting for the disciple sweeping the floor. You guys came first. Can you tell me what that disciple looks like? I didn't see it. Go ask the others. I saw it. That day, senior brother Wei Tian and the new disciple, Lu Bing, came to the missing moon peak together. They were instantly suppressed by the sweeping disciple and hung on the pillar. Now that senior brother Nine Swords is here, I'm afraid that the Dajiang Peak will also make a move. In my opinion, the missing moon peak is obviously doing this to embarrass the Golden Sun Peak, the Pill Peak and the Great River Peak. Otherwise, the old peak master of the missing moon peak would have come out to settle this matter long ago. Perhaps, from the beginning to the end, it was all a ploy by the missing moon peak, to let the other peaks know that the missing moon peak has not completely declined. That disciple sweeping the floor might be an earthly immortal that the old ancestor brought back from the outside. If that's the case, it's indeed possible. Peak Master Yi and the others must have reached some kind of agreement. That's why they let senior brother Nine Swords come to settle this matter. He alone is enough. After all, this is a feud between disciples. If someone from the older generation takes action, no matter who is wrong or right, the one who takes action will always be criticized by others. The nearby disciples whispered to each other, discussing this matter while paying attention to Nine Swords. Hua Yu, this time, senior brother Ning can't stop it, right? Even the great senior brother of the inner gate of the Golden Sun Peak has come here personally. No matter how strong senior brother Ning is, can he be a match for senior brother Nine Swords? Yes. Not necessarily. Senior brother Nine Swords is just an earthly immortal. Hua Yu said. You mean, brother Ning really has the combat strength of a peak earthly immortal? I didn't say that. It's just a guess. As for who will win, I think when senior brother Ning returns to the missing moon peak, we will know. There's no need for us to make wild guesses here. Hua Yu turned around and chopped down a big tree in the yard. The other 4 disciples saw this and thought that Hua Yu was crazy. How could she have such strong confidence in Ning Qi? After about 10 minutes, a figure flew over from afar. Seeing this, everyone's expression immediately became nervous. Is he here? Is it him? And no, it's Ying Zhenxuan, the eldest senior sister of the missing moon peak. As the figure approached the missing moon peak, everyone could see his face clearly. It wasn't Ning Qi, who they had been waiting for a long time, but Ying Zhenxuan, eldest senior sister. Fan Xing and the others hurriedly went up to him and reported what had happened at an extremely fast speed. There was a hint of joy in Ying Zhenxuan's eyes. After seeing Nine Swords, the joy gradually disappeared and her expression turned cold. Nine Swords, what are you doing here? Master asked me to take them away. Nine Swords looked at Ying Zhenxuan and said faintly. Then you can take them away now. Ying Zhenxuan said. Nine Swords shook his head. That's not what Master told me. Since they have disgraced the Golden Sun Peak, I will be responsible for taking back our face. When the time comes, I will take them back to the Golden Sun Peak. Chapter 2287. I will bring that disciple's head back to Golden Sun Peak and hang it at the entrance of my cave abode. Jiu Jian said indifferently. Although his tone was very light, the surrounding Xianjian sect disciples could feel a trace of an extremely heavy bloody aura from it. I won't let you kill him. Ying Zhenxuan stared at Jiu Jian. When Fan Xing and the others heard this, their expressions changed slightly. They looked at Ying Zhenxuan with a strange expression. Does great senior sister really know that Ning Beixian? Otherwise, with their understanding of great senior sister, she would not have said such resolute words. Look, It really is a conspiracy of the moon missing peak. You plan to use a sweeping disciple to establish the prestige of the moon missing peak? You're thinking too much. Now that senior brother Jiu Jian has appeared and taken that guy's head, this moon missing peak will be even more embarrassing than before. Could that sweeping disciple have some kind of relationship with Ing Xuan? What relationship? What do you guys think? He, your words don't count. I want his head, so his head is mine. Don't think that Elder Ing will help you. Master and the others have already discussed this matter. Jiu Jian said indifferently. Ing Zhenxuan's expression changed slightly. Has this matter already spread to the higher-ups? Could it be that her grandfather made some sort of agreement with the other party? No, grandfather still doesn't know his alchemy skills. Junior brother Ning is extremely important to our moon missing peak. We can't let him die in the hands of Jiu Jian. Just as Ing Zhenxuan was about to fly towards the place where Elder Ing was cultivating, she saw a commotion among the Xianjian sect disciples below. Everyone looked behind Ing Zhenxuan. A figure dashed over and appeared beside Ing Zhenxuan. It was Ning Qi. It's that sweeping disciple. A Xianjian sect disciple exclaimed. It's him? Is this the person who beat Wang Tao and the others up like this? That's strange. Even I can only feel a trace of an early human immortal aura from him. The few inner sect disciples frowned slightly and looked at Ning Qi with a trace of seriousness. Although there weren't many inner sect disciples in the inner sect, there were still quite a number of them. Even the weakest among them was an early Earth immortal expert. According to common sense, unless the opponent's cultivation base was a grade higher than theirs, it was impossible to be able to hide his cultivation so perfectly in front of them. There would definitely be a flaw. However, no matter what method they used, Ning Qi only had the aura of an early worldly immortal. Their spiritual wills scanned Ning Qi's body. Ning Qi glanced at them indifferently, then asked Ing Zhenxuan, "Big senior sister, did you get the item back?" "I've swapped it back. Now, immediately fly to my grandfather's seclusion grounds." In the next moment, a dazzling golden light bloomed from his body. At this moment, Jiu Jian seemed to have turned into a sun. Golden sun sword technique. The incomparably sharp flying sword exuded the aura of a high-grade immortal artifact. In the blink of an eye, it landed on Ning Qi's neck before anyone could react. At this moment, Ning Qi's aura had risen to the extreme. The crowd could no longer feel the aura of an early human immortal. Instead, they felt that Ning Qi had turned into an immortal beast in human skin. What a strong blood Qi! Many of the inner disciples couldn't help but exclaim. Clang! A loud sound came from Ning Qi's neck. When the flying sword touched Ning Qi's neck, it was as if it had hit something extremely hard and was instantly repelled. A white mark appeared on Ning Qi's neck. Other than that, there wasn't even a scratch on his skin. "You can't even cut my neck. How can you talk about taking my head?" Ning Qi laughed loudly. Under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, he flew up and grabbed the repelled flying sword. With a "kacha" sound, he snapped the flying sword into two. Pooey! A mouthful of blood gushed out of Jiu Jian's throat. His face was dark as he forcefully swallowed the blood. It's broken again. As expected, even senior brother Jiu Jian isn't a match for him. Chapter 2288. Vairocana Golden Body Technique. After the flying sword was broken by Ning Qi, although he was shocked, he did not panic. Instead, in an instant, he used some kind of immortal technique. At this moment, his body seemed to be plated with a layer of gold, and his entire body seemed to be shining. After he found out the details of how Ning Qi defeated Wang Tao and the others, he was already prepared, but he did not expect that his Golden Sun sword technique would not be able to cause any harm to Ning Qi, and could not even cut through his skin. This meant that not only was his opponent extremely strong, his body was also extremely strong. He could only use the Vairocana golden body technique that could also increase the strength of his body to protect himself. Senior apprentice brother Nine Swords actually cultivated the Vairocana golden body technique? Wang Tao and the others looked at this scene in disbelief. This kind of immortal technique could be exchanged in the mission hall, but the amount of contribution points needed to exchange for it was as high as 1,000,000. The disciples of the Xianjian sect all trained in sword technique. With 1,000,000 contribution points, they would naturally choose a more offensive sword technique. They would not choose this kind of Vairocana golden body technique that could only be used for defense. Moreover, this kind of body refinement technique was classified as one of the small paths in the immortal world. It could not be compared to the great Tao of the sword. Even a famous body refinement immortal would not be able to block a single sword strike from a famous sword immortal. This was why they were so shocked when Zhu Jian used the Vairocana golden body. However, after the shock, a glimmer of hope appeared in their eyes. They had deeply experienced the power in Ning Qi's fist. Perhaps only such a celestial technique could withstand it. If senior apprentice brother Nine Swords can block the opponent's fist, then even if we can't defeat him today, we won't lose. Vairocana golden body technique? Ning Qi's eyes moved slightly. If he was not wrong, Vairocana was one of the ancient immortals. Perhaps he could be called an ancient Buddha. This body refinement technique was named after him. However, bang! The surging power accompanied Ning Qi's fist and crazily poured onto Nine Swords' body. After Ning Qi's punch, the golden body on Nine Swords' body clearly had some crack. Your defense is not bad. Ning Qi smiled. If it was an ordinary perfection stage earthly immortal, the outcome would probably be the same as Wang Tao and the others after being struck by his fist at close range. But Zhou Jian forcefully withstood it. It's just that your Vairocana golden body technique doesn't seem to have been cultivated to perfection. Let's see if your tortoise shell is harder or if my fist is stronger. The corners of Ning Qi's lips curled up slightly. He punched out like lightning, and before Zhu Jian could react, another punch landed on his body. I can't fight this kid in close combat. Nine Swords felt a sweetness in his throat. Ning Qi's 2 punches almost made him vomit blood again, and this was when he had used the famous Vairocana golden body art for defense. If he had not used it in time, or if he had been careless, those 2 punches would have been enough to severely injure him, and even affect his spirit. The flying sword had already been broken, so Nine Swords could only execute various immortal arts with the intention of increasing the distance between him and Ning Qi, and then utilize his cultivation at the perfection stage of the earthly immortal realm to exhaust Ning Qi to death. Unfortunately, no matter how high the grade of the immortal arts he executed was or how formidable they were all easily shattered by a single punch from Ning Qi. Overpowering 10 with sheer strength? Was there really such a person? What realm has this child's body refinement technique reached? Nine Swords couldn't believe it. At first, they thought that Nine Swords was going to be defeated, but later on, they saw Nine Swords unleash an unexpected Vairocana golden body technique, and exchanged many moves with his opponent. Every move had a terrifying aura, with the 2 of them as the center, spreading out in all directions. That was the case. Some of the outer sect disciples felt their hearts sink, as if they were being pressed down by a huge rock. Only after retreating dozens of miles away did they feel a little better. In their eyes, Zhu Jian wasn't at a disadvantage. Instead, he was evenly matched with Ning Qi. Even so, they were slightly shocked by Ning Qi's terrifying battle prowess. If they knew what Zhu Jian was thinking right now, they would probably be even more shocked and filled with even more disbelief. Senior brother has a chance. Wang Tao and the others were overjoyed. With a few light sounds, Wang Tao's senior brothers had already broken free from the pillar and landed on the ground. They raised their heads and looked at the battle in front of them with anticipation in their eyes. Senior brother, we also, Bai Jing looked at Lu He. Lu He was silent for a moment. We don't need that much time. Let's talk about it after this battle is over. Just as he finished sending the sound transmission, he saw Wang Tao break free from the pillar and land on the ground. He was staring at Ning Qi with venomous eyes. Ning Qi had caused his cultivation to fall back to the early stage of the worldly immortal stage, causing his countless years of hard work to be destroyed in a single day. Eldest senior sister, should we help? Ying Zhenxuan retreated to Fan Xing and the other's side. Seeing that Ning Qi and Nine Swords were fighting passionately, Fan Xing secretly asked Ying Zhenxuan. Even if we wanted to help in this kind of battle, we wouldn't be able to. Ying Zhenxuan shook her head faintly. She looked at Ning Qi with a glimmer of light in her eyes. She initially thought that Ning Qi was talented, had shocking strength, and had superb alchemy skills. She didn't expect Ning Qi's battle strength to reach such a level that even a perfected Earth immortal couldn't do anything to him. In this way, wouldn't the only people in the Xianjian sect who could suppress him be at the Heaven Immortal stage and the Golden Immortal stage? The Heaven Immortal stage was either a direct disciple or a peak leader. Without a legitimate reason, they would not bully the weak. Needless to say, the Golden Immortal stage. She believed that Yi Rulong was not that thick-skinned. He was not that shameless. Unless Wang Tao and the others all died in the hands of Ning Qi, perhaps Yi Rulong would suppress them personally. With him at the Missing Moon Peak, perhaps the situation at the Missing Moon Peak will be very different. Ying Zhenxuan murmured to herself. What? No more tricks? You want to take my head with your cultivation? Isn't my head too worthless? Ning Qi chuckled, not even panting. However, Nine Swords looked a little disheveled. His hair was already scattered on his shoulders, and he did not look as calm as before. Senior brother Nine Swords, quickly kill him. A mere sweeping disciple dares to disrespect us inner sect disciples. A group of female cultivators suddenly shouted from below. They looked at Nine Swords with eyes full of worship. They were extremely confident in Nine Swords. Ning Qi looked down and seemed to see a group of brainless fans. It seems that you are very popular with the female cultivators in the Xianjian sect. Ning Qi laughed softly. Nine Swords' expression changed slightly, and a bad premonition arose in his heart. 18 Dragons subduing palms. Chapter 2289. Ever since the confining dragon elephant art had reached the 11th level, the 18 dragons subduing palms, one of the side sections, had also reached the 11th level. This was a level that the original 18 dragons subduing palms did not have. In the past, Ning Qi would either use the Dragon Slayer saber or defeat his opponent with a single punch. He did not have many opportunities to use it. This palm technique was famous for its strength. How powerful would it be? Ning Qi wasn't sure, but Ning Qi discovered that after he struck out with that palm, his body actually produced a trace of exhaustion. This is, Jiu Jian stared blankly as the 11 silver dragons pierced through his body. In the next moment, pieces of gold peeled off his skin and fell to the ground. Virokana golden body art, break. Scarlet lines appeared on Jiu Jian's body. At first, they were sparse, but they gradually became denser. Jiu Jian's handsome appearance became somewhat sinister. In the next moment, the blood-red pattern turned into a gaping wound and blood gushed out from it. Jiu Jian's body withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. His eyes lost their luster and he fell heavily to the ground. If it were not for the fact that his chest was still rising and falling, everyone would have thought that he had just been slapped by Ning Qi. Dead, senior brother Nine Swords lost? How is that possible? Impossible. How could that guy be so strong? He could even defeat senior brother Nine Swords. How could a mere early human immortal have such strength? You still think he's an early worldly immortal. The Xianjian sect disciples below looked at this scene in disbelief, especially the female disciples. When they discovered that their idol was actually not a match for a sweeping disciple, it immediately broke the fragile glass heart in their hearts, and they stared blankly at the 9 swords. Eldest senior brother, He Wang Tao and the others stared blankly at 9 swords, before a chill ran down their spines. They raised their heads and met Ning Qi's gaze, causing the hairs on their backs to stand on end. Zhu Zi. Wang Tao was the first to react. He wanted to return to the pillar, but Ning Qi seemed to value him more, and did not choose to attack his 4th senior brother, 5th senior brother and the others. He first appeared beside Wang Tao, and gave him another round of beating. The surrounding Xianjian sect disciples stared blankly at this scene, their eyes gradually revealing traces of shock. A trace of fear appeared on his face. Why? They also came down. Wang Tao looked at Ning Qi in despair. Bang! His body was punched into the sky by Ning Qi. The next moment, Ning Qi appeared above him and stepped on Wang Tao's back. Wang Tao fell to the ground with his face on the ground, forming a human shape. He turned his head to look at Ning Qi with resentment in his eyes. Because I don't like you. Ning Qi smiled. Without waiting for Wang Tao to curse, his fist had already landed on Wang Tao's mouth. This punch knocked out all of Wang Tao's remaining teeth. Stop fighting! If you hit me again, I'll drop from the human immortal stage. My master won't let you off. Wang Tao screamed in horror. When his senior brothers saw this scene, they couldn't bear to turn their heads to the other side of the pillar. When Wang Tao was violently beaten by Ning Qi, they had already returned to the pillar. This is too terrifying. To think that senior brother Wang Tao would end up like this, so miserable? After all, they were the same as Wang Tao, they were all existences of the earth immortal stage. Now that they saw that Wang Tao was as weak as a 3-year-old urchin in Ning Qi's hands, they immediately felt a sense of coldness in their hearts. I hate it when people threaten me the most. Ning Qi laughed. Wang Tao had a bad premonition. His dantian was once again fiercely punched by Ning Qi. This punch, however, shattered his dantian, and a popping sound could be heard from his body, like the sound of a balloon leaking air. Wang Tao's aura was frantically dropping, and very quickly, it fell to the worldly immortal stage. Even Hua Yu and the others, they were all inferior. Hiss! A series of gasps sounded out from the surroundings. This kid's methods are too ruthless. It was done by the devil. As a disciple of the Xianjian sect, senior brother Wang Tao was originally a fellow disciple of the same sect, but he actually did such a vicious thing to him. The inner sect disciples finally could not hold it in any longer and turned their gazes towards Ing Zhenxuan. The meaning in their eyes was clear. They hoped that Ing Zhenxuan would step forward and take care of this matter. As for them, after seeing the state of the 9 swords, none of the inner sect disciples present felt that they were Ning Qi's match and rashly stepped forward. He would only end up like the 9 swords. Junior brother Wang Tao, the 4th senior brother of the Golden Sun Peak, looked at Wang Tao's current appearance in disbelief, then looked at Ning Qi, and finally chose to grit his teeth and shut up. Do you think that just by climbing up you'll be fine? Ning Qi hung Wang Tao on the pillar again, then looked towards the 4th senior brother and the others. The faces of the 4th senior brother and the others immediately revealed expressions of shock and anger. You! Bang! 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 After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, including Wang Tao, all the brothers of Golden Sun Peak were covered with cuts and bruises, hanging weakly on the pillars. Jiu Jian seemed to come to his senses. The immortal qi in his body was slowly nourishing his injuries, allowing him to wake up from his coma. But as soon as he woke up, he saw that Ning Qi was beating himself up. 9 swords could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood at the sight of his good-for-nothing junior brothers. Are you insulting my Golden Sun Peak? Jiu Jian pointed at Ning Qi, his eyes filled with thick killing intent. No. Ning Qi laughed and said, I'm just insulting you. Nine Swords was no longer as calm as he had been when he first arrived. His eyes were filled with madness, and he let out a roar of rage. His demeanor caused the female disciples' faces to fall. Why is senior brother Nine Swords, bang? Jiu Jian's eyes were closed, and he lay silently on the ground. Ning Qi waved at Hua Yu and said, Come, hang him up. Hua Yu hugged the pillar that had already been cut and stuck it next to Wang Tao. Then, she eagerly picked up Jiu Jian and hung him on the pillar. During this process, countless pairs of eyes kept sizing up Hua Yu. They were somewhat bewildered. Could it be that this sweeping disciple was also hiding his strength? In that case, were there any similar disciples sweeping the floor in their mountain peaks? After today, some of the disciples who were sweeping the floor suddenly realized that the fellow who was usually mean to them had become kind. It was only after a period of time that they found out the reason. This Joss flame power came from him? Ning Qi glanced at Hua Yu with a faint smile. Unknowingly, Hua Yu had already become half a believer of his, because the Joss flame power was not stable enough. But as time went on, the Joss flame power would become more and more stable, and then Hua Yu would completely become a qualified believer. Chapter 2290. After Jiu Jian was hung on the pillar by Hua Yu, the surroundings were silent. Half of the eyes were on Ning Qi, while the other half were on Jiu Jian. Soon, those inner sanctum disciples turned around and left, followed by the outer sanctum disciples. It was as if they had made an agreement. Not long after, the missing moon peak was quiet again. Even Jiu Jian is no match for him. Fan Xing and the others seemed to have been petrified as they stared blankly at Ning Qi. Suddenly, a trace of joy arose in their hearts. If a cultivator at the peak of the earthly immortal realm couldn't suppress Ning Qi, then as long as a cultivator at the heavenly immortal realm didn't bully the weak, their moonless peak would have a powerful ally. Jiu Jian should have been sent by Peak Lord Yi. Now that he has failed, it should be my master's turn next, right? I'm afraid. Wei Tian's eyes revealed a trace of fear. He had watched the battle between Ning Qi and Jiu Jian from start to finish. In his heart, he only had one feeling about Ning Qi. Strong, very strong. Even the strongest inner sanctum disciple of Dajiang Peak was only on par with Nine Swords. If he came to Missing Moon Peak, he would most likely follow in Nine Swords' footsteps, eldest senior sister, spirit materials and spirit medicines. Ning Qi smiled at Ing Zhenxuan. Ing Zhenxuan recovered her wits and glanced at Jiu Jian and the rest with a strange expression. She handed Ning Qi a universe ring, which contained all the spiritual materials and spiritual herbs she had obtained through various means. About 55,000 servings in total. Ing Zhenxuan said, All right. Ning Qi smiled and nodded, then turned around and returned to the courtyard. Fan Xing and the others didn't understand what Ing Zhenxuan and Ning Qi were talking about. Why did eldest senior sister give him spiritual materials and spiritual medicines? Ing Zhenxuan watched Ning Qi's silhouette disappear into the courtyard before turning to leave. She didn't return to her own cave abode, but to Elder Ying's seclusion grounds. Grandpa, you're back? Senior Ing appeared beside Ing Zhenxuan with a smile. Did you reach an agreement with Yi Rulong and the rest? Ing Zhenxuan said with a weird expression. That's right. If they want to take back their disciples and grand-disciples, they can only send their disciples and grand-disciples to snatch them back. I can see that the kid's combat strength is extraordinary. If we don't send out heaven immortal experts, we won't be able to suppress him. In this way, their disciples and grand-disciples can only stay in our moon-lacking peak for a while. Elder Ing chuckled. In this way, our missing moon peak will have to face the wrath of the three peak. Ing Zhenxuan frowned. What else do we have to lose? Elder Ing smiled. That's good too. At least we have to let them know that our moon missing peak isn't empty. Did you find junior apprentice brother Ning? Ying Zhenxuan asked the question that she wanted to know the most. No. Elder Ying shook his head with a solemn expression. I don't know where this kid came from. After noticing that something was wrong with him, I've already asked Xiao Jian and the kids who participated in the 3 trials with him. In the end, the clues pointed to the 2 brothers from the vast stars Wen family. Noble star Wen family. Wensheng Wenqing? Junior apprentice brother Ning was brought here by them? Ying Zhenxuan was slightly taken aback. When Wensheng and Wenqing, the 2 heavenly immortal stage existences, joined the Xianjian sect, they naturally would not be unknown. When they had just entered the sect, Ying Zhenxuan and the others had already received the news, and they also knew that the vast Star Wen family had been exterminated. Now, only the 2 of them were left, and the golden immortal stage patriarch of the family had been beaten up. His soul was scattered. Ying Zhenxuan had even discussed this matter with Elder Ying before. To be able to destroy the Wen family without leaving a trace, the other party was at least a great Luo golden immortal, on par with the Xianjian sect's ancestor, Old Man Mysterious Sword. There were many people in the sect who did not wish for the Wen family's brother and sister to bring trouble to the Xianjian sect, but there were even more people who believed that although the Wen family's ancestor had betrayed the Xianjian sect, he was still a member of the Xianjian sect, and had the imprint of the Xianjian sect on his body. What was his background? It was this group of people who were able to suppress Yirulong. Otherwise, even if Wensheng and Wenqing had passed the 3 trials, Yirulong would still have told them to scram. That's right, that junior apprentice brother Ning of yours really came with them. The other guy who came with them has now been taken away by the Xianjian ancestor. He has a brilliant golden aptitude, TSK, but that kid's aptitude is extremely low, so he was arranged by Wang Tao to be a disciple sweeping the floor. To think that his fighting strength would be like this. So powerful. That's right. Grandpa, he also knows alchemy. Ying Zhenxuan said. Oh, alchemy. Elder Ying nodded. 3 breaths later, he suddenly looked at Ying Zhenxuan. What did you say? He knows alchemy? He's an alchemist? That's right. Ying Zhenxuan nodded. However, she didn't intend to tell Elder Ying about Ning Qi's terrifying alchemy speed. She felt that the fewer people who knew about this, the better. When the moonless peak accumulated enough pills and became strong again, it wouldn't be too troublesome even if the news were to leak out. Go and ask him if he's willing to be an inner sect disciple. I'll take him in personally. Elder Ying said. Inner sect disciple? Ying Zhenxuan was stunned for a moment, then nodded. In the sect, only people like Elder Ying, who were at least in the heaven immortal stage, could take in inner sect disciples. Those in the earth immortal stage didn't even have the right to take in disciples. At most, those with more seniority could take in a few outer sect disciples. Big senior sister. Hua Yu and the rest stared at Ying Zhenxuan blankly. Junior brother Ning isn't inside? Ying Zhenxuan furrowed her brows. Ning Qi should be concocting elixirs in here, but she couldn't sense any aura from him. It was as though there was no one in the room. This reminded her of the time when Wang Tao came here to cause trouble. Ning Qi seemed to have used some sort of method to avoid Wang Tao's divine senses. Psychic sense. There are a lot of spiritual ingredients and spiritual herbs this time. I wonder how long junior brother Ning will take, Ying Zhenxuan thought to herself. She told Hua Yu, if you see junior brother Ning, tell him to find me. Yes, big senior sister. Hua Yu nodded hurriedly. After Ying Zhenxuan left, the few disciples heaved a sigh of relief. They were afraid that Ying Zhenxuan would grab them to help with alchemy again. What? A surprised and angry shout came from the Golden Sun Peak. Master, I saw with my own eyes that eldest senior brother was, then hung on the pillar. A female disciple stood in front of Yi Tian, her face still full of fear. It seemed that she still hadn't recovered from the scene of Ning Qi suppressing Jiu Jian. Even Jiu Jian wasn't his match? How could this be? Yi Tian stood up and paced back and forth. His face was a little ugly. Yi Rulong had specially instructed him to handle this matter, but now, no, I can't embarrass Master. You, go and get Wen Sheng and Wen Qing. I want to bring them to the moon missing peak. Chapter 2291. Missing Moon Peak. Yi Tian rushed over with Wen Sheng and Wen Qing. At a glance, he saw Jiu Jian and the others hanging on the pillar. Yi Tian's expression was extremely ugly. Wen Sheng and Wen Qing looked at each other with strange expressions. Senior brother, Ning Beixian really helped us vent our anger. Actually, Brother Ye's temperament isn't bad, it's just that his master, Wen Xing, shook his head slightly. Wen Qing laughed coldly in her heart. Looking at Ning Qi's masterpiece, a trace of a smile appeared in her eyes. Yi Tian did not go and rescue Jiu Jian and the others. Instead, he went straight to where Elder Ing was cultivating in seclusion. As soon as the three of them arrived, Elder Ing walked out leisurely. Boy Yi, what's the matter? Elder Ing chuckled. Greetings, Elder Ing. Yi Tian saluted respectfully. Wen Sheng, Wen Qing, greets Elder Ing. Wen Sheng and Wen Qing also hurriedly bowed. Before they came, they had already heard that Elder Ing was one of the few seniors in the Xianjian sect. His seniority was even older than the ancestor of their Wen family. Even the living golden immortal stage cultivators might not have lived as long as this old man in front of them, even if his cultivation was not high. They didn't dare to be rude and neglect him. They were almost the same as them. You two are the Wen siblings, right? I've heard of your story, but it's a pity that my cultivation is too low, so I can't be of much help. When little Wen first entered the sect, I was the one who personally brought him in. What a pity! Elder Ing sighed. Hearing this, Wen Sheng and the other man were astonished. This old man's seniority is so high? In that case, when their ancestor had just entered the Xianjian sect, it was this old man who had acted as a guide and brought their ancestor through the 3 stages of the trial? Logically speaking, the Xianjian sect should help the Wen clan investigate the reason for their extermination, but this matter was suppressed by his master, and the other golden immortal stage patriarchs could not say anything, so they allowed Wen Sheng and the other 2 to stay in the Xianjian sect for the time being, and prepared to wait for the rabbit to come out. The whereabouts of the attacker. Elder Ying's words seemed to be mocking his master, so Yi Tian felt a little awkward. Senior Ing, you're too kind. Wen Xing revealed a sorrowful expression as he cupped his hands together. Speaking of which, Kid Yi, you wouldn't have come looking for me today for the matter of those disciples of yours, right? Elder Ing chuckled. Yi Tian smiled awkwardly and said, Old Ing, my useless disciples have been defeated by your disciple. I wonder if Old Ing can come forward and ask him to release them. This way, my golden sun peak's face will be better. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to save my golden sun peak's face. Gold Sun Peak is going to become the joke of the Xianjian sect. You're wrong. Little brat Yi, that sweeping disciple isn't one of my people. He's from the External Affairs Hall. You should tell this to Huang Tong. He's the hall master of the External Affairs Hall, right? Or was he dismissed by you? Elder Ing chuckled. This, Yi Tian frowned. He then glanced at Wen Sheng and Wen Qing and said, Elder Ing, these 2 are acquainted with the sweeping disciple. I wonder if you can let them meet? It's not a problem if you want to see him, as long as you can find him. Elder Ing chuckled. Can he find it? Yi Tian was slightly startled. Could it be that the sweeping disciple had already left the Xianjian sect? Otherwise, there was no reason for Elder Ing to say such words. Sigh, I'm old. I'm tired of saying a few words. You guys can take your time to find him. Elder Ing waved his hand and turned to leave. Yi Tian was silent for a moment, then looked at Wenxing. Brother Wenxing, what do you think? I've already used my spiritual will to check. Brother Ning is not here. Wenxing shook his head. Upon hearing this, Yi Tian's divine thought suddenly surged out like a tide, with him as the center. It didn't take long for him to sweep the entire missing moon peak inside and out, but there was no trace of Ning Qi. I can't find the master. According to master and the others' requests, I can't take the 9 swords and the others away. Yi Tian's expression became uglier and uglier. Brother Yi, don't worry. Brother Ning should still be in the Xianjian sect. You can just let the disciples of the Golden Sun Peak look for him. Wenxing smiled. That's the only way. For an entire month, Yi Tian did not have any news of Ning Qi, and the matter on the missing moon peak was not only spread among the dozen or so mountain peaks, but more than half of the sect now knew about it. 9 swords and the others had become the laughing stock of the meal. Batch after batch of inner and outer sect disciples came to see the truth of the matter. When they arrived at the missing moon peak, they confirmed that 9 swords and the others were just as the rumors said, that they had been beaten to such a state by a disciple sweeping the ground, and that they had even been hung up as a warning to the public. The rumors were even more accurate and true. Many inner and outer sect disciples became very curious about Ning Qi, the disciple sweeping the ground. The ways of the world have changed. Even the sweeping disciples are so ferocious. They even hung the eldest senior brother of the inner court of Golden Sun Peak as a warning to the public for a whole month. We really have to be careful in the future. Maybe there are hidden masters among the sweeping disciples we meet. Why do you think Peak Lord Yi still hasn't made a move? That's right. Logically speaking, if Peak Lord Yi personally came to ask for someone, the old Peak Lord of the missing moon peak shouldn't be able to stop him, right? In terms of cultivation, Peak Lord Yi is definitely stronger than him. In terms of seniority? With such a big thing happening, do you think Peak Lord Yi and the others haven't discussed this matter? From the beginning to the end, the old Peak Lord of the missing moon peak has never appeared. You guys should have guessed something, right? You mean, that's right, those seniors must have reached some sort of agreement. That's normal. The matters of the younger generation should be settled by the younger generation. If they beat up the younger generation, the older generation will jump out. Then in the future, there will be no need for us Xianjian sect disciples to compete. Can't we just directly report our identities? In this way, the strongest disciple of the Golden Sun Peak, 9 swords, has already been defeated. Then the remaining ones should be the Dan Peak and the River Peak, right? Hee, I heard that they can't find the main culprit right now. No one knows where the sweeping disciple is hiding. If they want to take him away in broad daylight, they have to wait for him to appear. I heard that many peak masters have already strictly forbidden their disciples from participating in this matter. From this, it can be seen that the strength of that sweeping disciple is indeed not to be underestimated. Even they are a little afraid. You don't even know where he is, and you still have the face to come see me? Yi Rulong looked at Yi Tian coldly. Master, this disciple is incompetent. I have embarrassed Master. Yi Tian said with his head lowered. Next, don't make any more moves. Let me see what methods Jiang Kuan has. A sweeping disciple, huh? He looks like I have to personally meet him and see just what kind of background he has. Chapter 2292. 800,000. Ning Qi had spent 30 years and used up almost half of the materials that Ing Zhinshuan had brought back. He would need another 30 years to use up all of them. That was only about 2 months in the outside world. He didn't care if Wang Tao and the rest would be killed while he was gone. If Wang Tao and the others' master wanted to bully the weak and bring them back, Ning Qi would not be stupid enough to fight head-on with a heavenly immortal stage cultivator. After another 30 years, Ning Qi became more and more proficient in refining the spirit jade pellet. His speed became faster and faster, and the number of pills he refined also increased from 30 to 30. More than 55,000 sets of pill refining materials had all been consumed in exchange for nearly 1.7 million top-grade spirit jade pellets of the first step. If the outside world were to find out about this, they would definitely be shocked. Even the Stone River Pill sect, which was proficient in pill refining, would refine spirit jade pellets together for a year. The amount of time they had was only this much, and the quality might be mixed. Take the Xianjian sect for example. The disciples of the Xianjian sect, other than the disciples who were sweeping the floor, the outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples, and true disciples could receive a certain amount of spirit jade pellets from the Xianjian sect every year, and most of them were low-grade spirit jade pellets of the first step. These spirit jade pellets were distributed to the various mountain peaks, and the peak master was responsible for distributing them. However, because of the difference in strength between the mountain peaks, the number of spirit jade pellets obtained would not be the same. On average, every disciple would be able to obtain at least 100 low-grade spirit jade pellets of the first step. More than 1 million. Converting these low-grade spirit jade pellets into top-grade spirit jade pellets was about the same as the amount that Ning Qi had produced this time. It was equivalent to Ning Qi spending 2 months in the outside world to refine enough spirit jade pellets for the 330,000 disciples of the Xianjian sect to consume for a year. If these spirit jade pellets were to be consumed by 1 or 2 people, their cultivation would definitely rise. Just as he left the top cultivation training ground, Hua Yu, who had been guarding the door, heard the commotion. Seeing Ning Qi walk out of the door, he heaved a sigh of relief. "Senior Ning, eldest senior sister wants to see you." "Yes." Ning Qi nodded. When he left the courtyard, Wei Tian and the others raised their heads to look at Ning Qi. They all had different expressions. Zhu Jian seemed to be a little bewildered, while Wei Tian seemed to be pleasantly surprised. During this period of time, the disciples of Dajiang Peak had come over a few times and told Wei Tian that as long as they found Ning Qi, Dajiang Peak would send out disciples to challenge him. Before that, Wei Tian and the others could not act rashly. Wei Tian was originally worried that if they couldn't find Ning Qi, they would have to hang here like monkeys forever. Now that Ning Qi had appeared, he finally felt as if a huge stone had been lifted from his heart, and he let out a long sigh of relief. Ning Qi smiled at them and walked towards Ingzhenxuan's cave abode. As soon as Ning Qi left, Wei Tian immediately shouted towards a nearby forest, "Hurry up and inform Master." There was a few commotion in the forest, and then a few figures broke through the air, speeding towards the direction of Dajiang Peak. "Don't worry. Wait for my master to send someone over to suppress this kid. At that time, we'll be able to leave safely." Wei Tian looked at Zhu Jian and the others and said. Zhu Jian didn't say anything. As the eldest senior brother of the inner sect of Golden Sun Peak, he couldn't accept this kind of fall. Wang Tao's cultivation was not even at the worldly immortal stage, so he was already numb to it. Wei Tian's words did not cause him to have any reaction, but fourth senior brother and the others revealed a look of anticipation. After all, Jiang Kuan, the peak master of Dajiang Peak, was in existence of the golden immortal stage. That disciple sweeping the floor, could it be? That's right, it's him. Do you remember what he looks like? If you meet him in the future, take a detour so that you won't be hung here too. No matter how strong he is, he's just a disciple sweeping the floor. We are all dignified. Dignified what? Inner sect disciple? Did you see what happened to Zhu Jian and the others? I think that unless you become a successor disciple, the other party might be a little afraid. Many of the Xianjian sect disciples who were watching from afar whispered to each other. Junior brother Ning? When Ingzhenxuan saw Ning Qi, her eyes revealed a look of pleasant surprise. There are 100,000 spirit jade pills in here. You can use them to exchange for spiritual herbs, or for your own use. Eldest senior sister, please feel free. Ning Qi took out a universe ring and handed it to Ing Zhenxuan. This universe ring was given to him by Ing Zhenxuan. 100,000? Ing Zhenxuan could not believe it. She took the universe ring and scanned it with her divine sense. Indeed, she saw many round spirit jade pills, and the aura on them showed that they were all Tier 1 Supreme Grade Spirit Jade pills. 100,000 Supreme Grade Spirit Jade pills was enough to revitalize the declining moon missing peak. When Ing Zhenxuan thought of this, Ning Qi suddenly realized that there was a faint immortal spiritual energy gushing out from the bottom of the moon missing peak. Although it was not a lot, it was of great help to the moon missing peak, which was almost depleted of spiritual energy. Help! This was like a traveler in the desert who had not drunk water for a few days and found a clear spring. Ning Qi and Ing Zhenxuan noticed it at almost the same time, followed by Fan Xing and the other moon missing peak disciples. The moon missing peak has been revitalized. Junior brother Ning, thank you. Ing Zhenxuan cupped her hands towards Ning Qi solemnly. Ning Qi had a strange look in his eyes. Why was the moon missing peak suddenly revitalized? Was it because he had given Ing Zhenxuan 100,000 spirit jade pills? Junior brother Ning, don't you know? The heavens believe that our moon missing peak can rise again, and this glimmer of hope is bestowed upon us by them. Ing Zhenxuan could tell that Ning Qi was a little doubtful. Everyone in the immortal world should know about this, right? If a cultivation holy land declined, then at the same time, the heavens would take back everything they had given it. It was extremely normal for it to become a barren mountain overnight. And vice versa. The heavenly Tao of the celestial realm actually cares about such things? It is indeed incomparable to other places. Ning Qi's eyes moved slightly. If what Ing Zhenxuan said was right, then he, Ing Zhenxuan, and the other immortals were under the influence of the heavenly Tao almost all the time. Hope. Old Ing looked down at the ground, a trace of nostalgia in his eyes. He had not seen such hope for many years. Almost at the same time, all the golden immortals in Xianjian sect looked up at the moon missing peak with different expressions. Chapter 2293. Other than Fan Xing and the others who had stayed in the missing moon peak for a long time, the rest of the people, including the 9 swords and the disciples of the Xianjian sect who had come to watch the show, did not notice this slight change. The spiritual energy in the missing moon peak had become a bit denser. It is indeed full of life. Does the heavens think that the missing moon peak has a chance to rise again? Yi Rulong's eyes moved slightly. He turned his head and saw 3 figures arriving one after another. One of them was Jiang Kuan, and the other 2 were also golden immortals. Is Ing Zizai back? Jiang Kuan asked Yi Rulong. The other 2 looked at the missing moon peak solemnly. They scanned with their divine sense, but did not find any golden immortal aura. However, when their divine sense swept past Zhu Jian and the others, they looked at Yi Rulong and Jiang Kuan strangely. Ing Zizai did not come back. If it was him, the spirit qi of the missing moon peak would have increased by at least 10 times. Yi Rulong said lightly. Then what's going on? Jiang Kuan frowned. It should be them. One of the other 2 golden immortals pointed at Zhu Jian and the others. I think this is a trap set by Elder Ing to deceive the heavens. They have been here for a long time, right? The disciples of the sect, and even my disciples, are chatting about this. Maybe this is why the heavens saw through it. The missing moon peak has the potential to rise again. If that's the case, Elder Ing has put in a lot of effort. Yi Rulong, Jiang Kuan, for his sake, don't get involved in this matter. The other golden immortal smiled. Humph, I didn't intend to get involved in the first place. Let the rest settle it themselves. A sense of pride flashed in Yi Rulong's eyes. Speaking of which, that guy is Ning Beixian? The disciple who sweeps the floor? A figure calmly walked past Wang Tao and the others, preparing to return to the courtyard. Yi Rulong and the other 3 golden immortals all looked at the figure. What do you think? Early human immortal. He is indeed an early human immortal. Unless he has a special Dao item, he can't hide from our eyes. An early human immortal could beat Rulong's grand disciple to such a state? Jiang Kun, Wei Tian is your personal disciple, right? You should know how strong he is. He's merely an early worldly immortal. Even if he had a Dao artifact, would he be able to beat Wei Tian? Don't say any more. If you want to know his background, can't you just ask him? Yi Rulong sneered. The next second, he moved slightly and appeared before Ningqi. When Zhou Jian and the others saw this, they were shocked and then overjoyed. Grandmaster is here. Grandmaster has come to avenge us. Wang Tao's lifeless face finally showed a trace of emotion. He looked at Yi Rulong hopefully, hoping to see Yi Rulong kill Ningqi with one punch in the next moment. Then, Jiang Kun and the other 2 appeared one after another. Wei Tian and Lu Bing became excited when they saw Jiang Kun. Master! Shut up! Jiang Kun shouted coldly. Then, he ignored Wei and Tian and looked at Ningqi with a faint smile on his face. That's Forefather Yi? And Forefather Jiang. Hiss. Forefather Nangong and Forefather Murong are here too. How many golden immortals are there in our Xianjian sect? 4 of them came today. Don't tell me they're here for Ning Beixian. He's simply the strongest sweeping disciple in history. The expressions of the surrounding Xianjian sect disciples turned serious as they looked respectfully in the direction of Yi Rulong and the rest. They were filled with anticipation as they wondered if Yi Rulong and the other 3 golden immortals were here to suppress the disciple who was sweeping the floor. You're Ning Beixian? Yi Rulong said calmly. Ningqi looked at Yi Rulong, then at Jiang Kun and the other 2. He smiled and nodded. I am indeed Ning Beixian. Greetings, seniors. Ningqi's attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. He was neither arrogant nor fearful. Yi Rulong and the other 3's eyes moved slightly. If the other party was really an early-stage worldly immortal, then it could only be said that he had seen existences stronger than them. Otherwise, the 4 of them had never seen an early-stage worldly immortal who could face a golden immortal without batting an eyelid. Do you know who I am? Yi Rulong said calmly. Senior Yi, we met a while ago. Ningqi smiled. You came with the 2 siblings from the one clan. In that case, we have indeed met before. Yi Rulong nodded. In reality, he didn't even remember Ningqi. That day, only Wenxing and Wenqing caught his eye. Their talent was considered above average in the Xianjian sect. They had broken through to the early stage heavenly immortal at such a young age and had the chance to become a golden immortal in the future. Do you know that these are all my grand disciples? Are you trying to embarrass me by hanging them here? Yi Rulong pointed at Zhou Jian and the others. Jiang Kun and the other 2 looked at Ningqi with a faint smile. They wanted to see how Ningqi would answer. Ningqi looked at Zhou Jian and the others. So they are Senior Ye's grand disciples. I didn't know. The corner of Yi Rulong's mouth rose. However, there will always be winners and losers in the sect. If Senior Yi wants to bring these few back. Ningqi's lips curled into a mocking smile. Then please. Do you have any dissatisfaction in your heart? Yi Rulong said with a faint smile. What is there to be dissatisfied about? Ningqi glanced at Zhou Jian and the others. Seeing this, everyone could see a trace of disdain hidden in Ningqi's eyes, as if he didn't even see Zhou Jian and the others as opponents. This kid is indeed as arrogant as the rumors say. Jiang Kun squinted his eyes. Hee, we old fellows don't plan to interfere in the matters between you juniors. However, I want to know, before you entered the Xianjian sect, which sect did you come from? Yi Rulong sneered. I don't remember. Ning Qi smiled. Do you really not remember, or are you pretending not to remember? I do have a method that can make you remember. Yi Rulong laughed and reached out to grab Ning Qi's head. At this moment, Ning Qi felt extreme danger. At the same time, the silver dragon tattoo on his body seemed to be faintly heating up. Brat Yi, what are you doing? A loud shout came from afar. Ing Zhenxuan supported Elder Ing and appeared behind Yi Rulong and the others. Yi Rulong's movements also paused, and he retracted his hand with a fake smile. Peak Lord. Fan Xing and the others hurriedly went forward and bowed. Old Peak Lord has finally appeared. It seems like the rumors are the same. He is still at the early stage of Heaven Immortal. In that case, he should not have much lifespan left, right? Chapter 2294. Ning Qi looked at Elder Ing, and Ing Zhenxuan nodded at him, then looked at Yi Rulong coldly. Just a little bit more. Ning Qi's eyes flashed with seriousness. It wasn't an illusion that the tattoo became hot. It was really hot, as if something was going to come out of his silver dragon tattoo. Was it the Dragon Slayer saber? Or was it that silver dragon? Or was it the dragon claw that appeared on Howren's star? If Ing Zhenxuan and Ing Zhenxuan didn't arrive in time, would Yi Rulong, a golden immortal, be crushed? Ning Qi felt that it was a pity, but fortunately, if Yi Rulong was really crushed here, then he wouldn't have to do the task of learning the emotion destroyer swordsmanship. Whether or not he could escape from Xianjian's sect was a problem. Brat Yi, why didn't you tell me that you came to my moon missing peak as guests? Do you really think that there's no one here when my son isn't here? Elder Ing chuckled. No. Jiang Kun and the other two laughed awkwardly. There was nothing they could do. Elder Ying's seniority was too high, and he had a golden immortal son, Ing Zizai, whose life or death was unknown. When facing an early heaven immortal like Elder Ing, they could only smile at him. They could not treat him like an ordinary early heaven immortal. Yi Rulong smiled and didn't say anything. No? I think you guys are very bold. Do you really think that my moon missing peak is a place where you can come and go as you please? Brat Yi, Brat Jiang, what did we say back then? Let the younger generation deal with their own matters. You two aren't young anymore, and now you want to deal with it personally? My moon missing peak. A sweeping disciple? Elder Ying's eyes revealed a trace of mockery. Elder Ing misunderstood. Jiang Kun smiled bitterly. Misunderstood? Brat Yi, what were you going to do just now? Elder Ing looked at Yi Rulong. If you don't give me an explanation today, we'll go find Xianjian ancestor to judge. While my bones haven't been buried yet, when I die, I reckon that my granddaughter and the disciples of the moon missing peak won't have a place to stay, right? Grandpa, you won't die. Ing Zhenxuan said. I'm at the age where I know my destiny. How can I not know when I'll die? Don't worry, after living for so long I've already gotten over it. Elder Ing chuckled and patted the back of Ing Zhenxuan's hand. After he mentioned Old Man Mysterious Sword, the expressions of Yi Rulong and the others changed. Nangong and Murong didn't feel anything because they weren't involved in this matter, and none of their disciples were hung on the pillars by Ning Qi. They looked at Jiang Kun and Yi Rulong gloatingly. Elder Ing, there's no need to look for Patriarch Xianjian for such a small matter, right? Yi Rulong smiled and glanced at Ning Qi. Little brother, do you have any ailments or pains? It hurts here. Ning Qi pointed at his knees. Yi Rulong's expression changed. Ing Zhenxuan smiled at Ning Qi. Ning Qi had given her 100,000 spiritual jade pills, all of which were top-grade rank 1 pills. Moreover, they had revitalized the moon-lacking peak. Other than curiosity, she was also grateful towards Ning Qi. Senior sister, I will be in seclusion for a period of time. You can use this time to find more elixir recipes and spiritual materials to exchange for them with spiritual jade pills. Ning Qi smiled. Ing Zhenxuan's eyes lit up and she nodded. When Ning Qi entered the courtyard and Ing Zhenxuan left, the moon-lacking peak seemed to have quietened down again. However, many people's eyes were on the porcelain bottle left behind by Yi Rulong. Junior brother Ning, I forgot to take it. Fanzing walked to the entrance of the courtyard and shouted. I don't want it anymore. Ning Qi's indifferent voice came from inside. He didn't want it anymore? He didn't want the rank 2 spirit cleansing pill? Fanzing was dumbfounded. Chapter 2295. Not long after, Yi Tian rushed over with Wenxing and Wenqing. At the same time, Ning Qi disappeared from the room and went to the top-grade training ground. Where is he? Why isn't he here again? Yi Tian scanned the area with his spiritual will and his face was filled with anger. He had received news that Ning Qi was at the moon missing peak and he had rushed over. Now, he was gone again? Where's the disciple sweeping the floor? Yi Tian pointed at Fanzing and asked. Fanzing was immersed in his happiness. A second-stage spirit cleansing pill could be exchanged for 7 or 8 lower-grade first-stage spirit jade pills. Everyone had made a small fortune. Suddenly hearing Yi Tian's voice, Fanzing was stunned for a moment. After clearly seeing who Yi Tian was, he respectfully saluted and said, Peak Lord Yi, what instructions do you have? Let me ask you, where's the disciple sweeping the floor? Where's Ning Beixian? Yi Tian frowned. Fanzing had a strange expression and told Yi Tian what had happened. Yi Tian looked at the porcelain bottle in Fanzing's hand and his face turned pale. Yi Tian didn't greet Wenxing and Wenqing. He flew towards the direction of Elixir Peak. I didn't expect a golden immortal patriarch to be extorted for a bottle of spirit cleansing pill. Wenqing laughed gloatingly. She was extremely happy when she heard that Yi Rulong had to leave behind a bottle of spirit cleansing pill to get away. Third sister. Wenxing looked at her reproachfully. Even if she wanted to mock a golden immortal patriarch, she shouldn't do it in public. If the other party heard it, there would be trouble. All right. Wenqing rolled her eyes at Wenxing and smiled at Fanzing. When Ning Beixian shows up, tell him that I want to see him. Okay. Fanzing nodded. He had some understanding of Wenqing's identity. Elixir Peak. Master. Yi Tian looked at Yi Rulong hesitantly. He couldn't tell whether his master was happy or angry. But when he thought of Fanzing's words, he thought that his master must have entered a state of extreme anger. Go back. Don't interfere with the matters of moon missing peak in the future. Yi Rulong said faintly. Master, Jiu Jian has already been hung up there. Do you have any outstanding disciples from your Golden Sun Peak who can go to the missing Moon Peak and snatch him back? Yi Rulong asked calmly. Yi Tian looked ashamed. Is there anyone else? In that case, I will personally handle this matter. Yi Rulong said lightly. Master, disciple will take his leave. Yi Tian turned around and left. In his heart, he hated Ning Qi. Normally, with his personality, he would rarely vent his anger on others. However, this time, he had disappointed Yi Rulong again and again. He even made Yi Rulong lose face at the moon-lacking peak. Yi Tian was in a bad mood, so he naturally thought of Ning Qi. If not for Ning Qi, how could Yi Rulong be so disappointed in him? Not long after Yi Tian left, Yi Rulong gathered all the inner sect disciples of Elixir Peak. He had a few legacy disciples under him as well. However, if he were to use his legacy disciples on such a matter, it would be no different from asking Yi Tian to suppress Ning Qi. More than 30 Earth immortal auras stood respectfully in front of Yi Rulong. Whoever can suppress the sweeping disciple of the moon-lacking peak, I will recommend him to be a legacy disciple in the next batch. Yi Rulong said calmly. Then, he turned around and left, leaving behind a group of shocked inner sect disciples. In the top-class training ground, Ning Qi swallowed the spiritual jade pills one by one as if they were free. A normal early-stage human immortal could only take one spiritual jade pill at most. Any more and the body would not be able to take it. However, Ning Qi was different. He took more than 100 pills at a time. The majestic immortal qi kept colliding in his body and was quickly absorbed by Ning Qi. As for the immortal qi that he could not absorb in time, it would be integrated into Ning Qi's body to refine his body. However, the effect of the immortal qi was incomparable to that of the devil qi. Ning Qi's body did not improve much. However, the immortal qi in his meridians continued to increase. In the blink of an eye, Ning Qi had stayed in the top-class training ground for nearly 100 years. In this 100 years, he had consumed 1.6 million spiritual jade pills. At this moment, the spiritual qi in Ning Qi's immortal meridians was very rich. If it was a small stream in the past, it would be a long river now. However, it was still not enough to fill the immortal meridians. It had only reached 1/3. Taking more spiritual jade pills would not have any effect. Ning Qi knew that he had reached the early stage of human immortal. He was only half a step away from the intermediate stage of human immortal. There should not be any breakthrough in the imprisonment dragon-elephant skill and 9 inner hidden gates in a short period of time. However, as long as I reach the intermediate stage of human immortal, my strength will increase. Although I will not be comparable to a celestial immortal, I can at least defeat someone like 9 swords with 1 or 2 punches. Although Ning Qi's combat strength was comparable to an earth immortal in the Great Circle, the gap between an earth immortal and a celestial immortal was completely different from that between a human immortal and an earth immortal. The gap was huge. If he wanted to fight a celestial immortal, Ning Qi suspected that he would have to break through to the early stage of Earth Immortal. Such a gap would only get bigger as he progressed. Obviously, when Ning Qi reached the Celestial Immortal realm, he could only fight with those of the same cultivation level. This was not taking into account the 9 inner hidden gates. If he could break through to the 9th door of the 9 inner hidden gates, it would be a different scene. 300 years. A wave of immortal qi that was several times more majestic than before surged out of Ning Qi's body. It turned into a cloud and lingered around Ning Qi. I finally broke through. Ning Qi let out a long sigh of relief. The more he thought about it, the more he wondered if he had been reincarnated into the wrong body in his previous life. Back in the central mainland, his aptitude was only average, but in the immortal world, Zhao Tong was much, much better than him. It took him 300 years to break through a minor realm. If it wasn't for the training ground, it wouldn't be long before he would be surpassed by those of the same cultivation level. Adding the time he took the spiritual jade pills, more than a year had passed in the outside world. But Ning Qi didn't plan to go out. There were still about 1.2 million spiritual jade pills left. If he took all of them, he should at least be able to stabilize his current cultivation level and reach the peak of the middle stage human immortal realm. Ning Qi stretched out his hand and more than 100 spiritual jade pills appeared in his hand. Ning Qi swallowed them in one gulp. We've been hanging here for 2 or 3 years, right? Bai Jing and Lu He's condition had gradually recovered in these 2 or 3 years. At this moment, they had the ability to leave this pillar. After all, Ning Qi didn't set any restrictive spells. But even Zhu Jian and the others didn't leave without permission. How could the 2 of them dare to leave? That guy hasn't appeared all this time because he wants to hang us for a while longer. During this time, the senior brothers of Dan Peak and Dajiang Peak have come many times, but they couldn't find him, Lu He said with a sinister face. In the past few years, the 2 of them, as well as Zhu Jian and the other inner sect disciples, had lived like a year. Almost all the disciples of the Xianjian sect had come to take a look. Furthermore, there were rumors that Yi Rulong was willing to take out a successor-disciple position for this matter. This made many of the inner sect disciples feel as if they had been injected with chicken blood, but unfortunately, none of them could find Ning Qi's whereabouts. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.